On March 5, 2021, staff at the Albuquerque International Sunport parking garage discovered a smell so foul it couldn't be ignored. It was coming from a pickup truck abandoned in the far corner of the lot. When officers arrived to investigate, what they found inside was beyond even their worst expectations.
Kind of smells. Kind of smells, but I mean, not to like decompose or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was here yesterday as well, I believe.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, there was once the same vehicle here yesterday.
Yeah. So they maybe left and came back. Then it's how it's shown to the car.
So there's a pretty foul smell coming from the vehicle.
Yeah.
Every so often. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, I can't really tell what it was. I didn't really sound like. I can't really think it smelled like decomp body or something like that. But I don't know. But yeah, I can smell something, but I can't really tell what it was. It also smells like dirty.
Yeah, it's just kind of odd and out of place, especially with all the Tupperware in there. And
Yeah, it's definitely weird.
4 decomposing bodies stuffed into plastic storage bins. But this horrifying scene was only the beginning of what investigators would uncover. Within days, their search for the truck's owner led them across state lines, unraveling a dark and twisted story of betrayal, revenge, and cold-blooded murder. At the center of it all was Shaun Lannon, a 47-year-old man who appeared unremarkable to neighbors, a quiet father who had recently separated from his wife. But beneath his calm exterior hid a rage that had been simmering for years. When police finally arrested Shaun Lannon in Missouri just 3 days later, he immediately confessed not just to these 4 murders, but to another brutal killing in New Jersey days before. And then he said something that would haunt investigators long after he was in custody. He claimed to have killed 16 people in total. That number, 16, left officers scrambling to identify potential victims across New Mexico and New Jersey. Who was Shaun Lannon? What drove him to kill so many people, including his own ex-wife, and then boast about it so casually? Was his claim of 16 victims true, or was it a manipulative ploy to control the narrative even from behind bars? This is not just a story about murder. It's a story about secrets, twisted justifications, and the terrifying reality that someone you once trusted could turn into a killer overnight. Stay with us as we unfold the chilling story of Shaun Lannon, the serial killer who almost slipped through the cracks of America's justice system. Shaun Michael Lannon was born in New Jersey, where he spent most of his childhood. As a teenager, he reportedly struggled with mental health issues, including depression, which went untreated for years. He rarely spoke of his childhood, except to mention that it wasn't easy. In his late 20s, Shaun moved to New Mexico, hoping for a fresh start. There, he met Jennifer Lannon. She was kind, smart, and supportive, and soon they were married. Together, they built a life in Grants, New Mexico, and had children. To outsiders, they looked like a stable family. But Shaun and Jennifer's marriage was far from perfect. Arguments were frequent, and there were rumors of infidelity on both sides. By early 2021, the couple had separated and Jennifer was staying with friends while still trying to co-parent their kids. Despite his quiet demeanor, Shaun's mental state was deteriorating. He became paranoid about Jennifer's relationships and jealous of the men she spent time with. He felt like he was losing everything: his marriage, his family, his sense of control. Few knew the extent of his anger until early 2021, when his actions would reveal the darkness lurking beneath his calm surface. By then, it was too late for anyone to intervene. Shaun Lannon was about to embark on a killing spree that would shock 2 states and leave investigators questioning how a man could carry so much hatred within him.
Hello?
Hey, is this Shaun?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Shaun, this is Detective Turney. How are you doing?
Good, how are you doing today?
Good, man. I've been trying to get a hold of your other number, and it's not working. So,
No, I apologize. Sorry.
so you know anything new?
No, I haven't heard anything. Nope.
Okay. Are you still around town?
No, I'm in Albuquerque.
Okay. How's the kids doing?
They're doing good. They're doing good. Just yeah, upset looking.
And you're living with
Crying a little bit.
and you're living with Dee again, or still?
Yep.
Okay. No, we've made some progress here and there. I've got a bunch of pictures of different vehicles. I'd like you to take a look at, see if you could help me identify them.
Good time tomorrow. I wanted to come in and I can. I still have like stuff I got to return to the school.
Okay.
Or,
Tomorrow would be great. Just give me a heads up anytime.
you got it. All right, boss.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
Apologize for the phone issue. I didn't.
We're good.
The other one was technically the one left that we had. So.
Okay.
Yep. Alrighty. Apologize
All right. What? Any idea what time tomorrow?
in the afternoon, I got to get a ride. So.
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right. Just make sure the kids are taken care of, and we'll go from there.
You got it.
All right.
Thanks, sir.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Shaun Lannon's killing spree unfolded over the course of 2 months in early 2021. It began with his ex-wife, Jennifer Lannon, who he accused of having an affair with a man named Justin Mata. According to his confession, Shaun invited Jennifer over to their home in Grants, New Mexico. They spoke about their relationship, and at first she thought they were reconciling. But when Shaun confronted her about Mata, an argument escalated into violence. In a fit of rage, he attacked and killed her. But the nightmare didn't end there. Shaun then lured Justin Mata to the house under the pretext of discussing matters with Jennifer. When Mata arrived, Shaun ambushed and killed him too. Shortly after, Matthew Miller, another acquaintance of Jennifer's, was also invited over. Shaun killed him in cold blood, believing he was another threat to his fractured marriage. The details of these killings remain disturbing. Shaun dismembered the bodies and stored them in plastic bins in the garage while deciding what to do next.
These missing people. You know that, okay? Everybody is a suspect, okay? Everybody. I deal with suspects, witnesses, and victims. Everybody is a suspect, okay? And it is my job to take the suspects one at a time and rule them out.
Sounds good.
And I can't rule one out. I can't move on to the next one. I can only deal with one at a time. Okay? You are our suspect that I want to try and rule out. Okay? The things that you've told us, okay, I've completely ruled each one of them as just an outright lie. Okay? Because of the facts. I have surveillance all over this town.
Okay, cool.
Okay? I have surveillance all over this town. Alright?
Yeah.
Shaun, step one.
Right.
Okay? Step one is to tell me where the bodies are. Step two, okay, is to tell me some kind of reasonable story of the truth.
Okay.
Okay?
And why is it? Oh, never mind.
Those are the steps.
Yep.
Okay, we all make mistakes. Okay? Right? And we all freak out. Okay? I don't think you're a killer. I don't think you're capable of purposely, deliberately killing somebody. I think you're a reasonable person. I think it was some kind of self-defense and or an accident. And you flipped out as anybody would and went and dumped their bodies because you didn't want to lose your kids.
Days later, Shaun contacted Randall Apostolon, a local handyman and casual acquaintance. He offered him money to help move the bins out of his garage, claiming they contained trash and old belongings. When Randall arrived and realized what was actually inside the bins, he refused to help. Shaun, fearing exposure, killed Randall on the spot. Now with 4 bodies in his possession, Shaun loaded them into Randall's pickup truck. On March 5th, 2021, he drove the truck to the Albuquerque International Sunport parking garage and abandoned it there. For days, it sat unnoticed. But soon the smell of decay was too strong to ignore. When airport security investigated, they found the bins filled with dismembered remains. Officers arriving at the scene described it as the most gruesome discovery of their careers. But Shaun wasn't done. After abandoning the truck, he fled New Mexico, driving across the country back to New Jersey.
What is it you, how and when, I told you what I knew, that's what I feel I gave you an honest answer. What is it that would cause you to think otherwise, that it wasn't true? What is it that you think that I lied about?
I know you're the last one who drove Matthew Miller's truck.
Okay,
I know you parked it where we found it.
yep.
That's all a lie. You lied to me about that.
What do you mean? That's where I put it. I told you where it was. It was there the last time I saw it. I told you in here, I told you I drove the truck.
You told me you drove the truck a few weeks prior and you went to Smith's and Walmart to get food and then you went back and drove and parked it at Kingman.
At McDonald's, yeah. That's
what
it,
you
that's the
said.
last time I drove it. And the kids were with me the whole time. That's it.
Okay. Every
Literally.
time, so there's surveillance video across the street from 817 Kingman. Incredible surveillance video.
Yeah.
We got everybody coming or going from that house. Everything that happens. Every vehicle that shows up. Right?
Yeah.
Every person.
Sound good?
Every time Matthew goes there,
Yeah.
he parks in front. When you're driving the truck, you back it in.
Okay.
Okay?
He started backing in because he wanted to pull that organ. And that's
He
the truth.
wanted to do what?
He wanted to load up that organ to sell it. The one that was, look at the picture like in front of the house. The big musical organ. Like I wasn't physically strong enough because I'm still recovering from the sickness. But yep, pick it up. He wanted to take it up to Poland or somewhere and get money for it. So I was like, I'm not doing it, so I let him use my food card.
Okay.
I picked up supplies, and that's it.
Where's Matthew and where's Jennifer and where's Justin?
I don't have that answer for you. So, I'm not part of whatever disappearance they're on. That's not my thing. So, Matthew owed me $80 worth of something. I needed water. I needed a vehicle periodically. He drove me a few times. And I didn't even know he didn't have water until he said something about his grandmother. He got water from his grandmother one day. I was like, what was that?
And Jennifer and Justin ran off together.
Yeah.
And they got into this white car.
A white something, a 300 or something.
Yeah, there's no white car that ever goes to 817 Kingman.
Yes, there's a 87. There's a white 300 there.
Why would she take off and not take her phone?
She had a new phone. He gave her a brand new phone. When she left, she had a white iPhone, like a nice one, like a really nice phone. Yeah.
Why would she not take her other phone?
Because it's a piece of trash.
Why would she not call anybody? Why would his phone not be on and working? Why would
They
they
weren't
not
together.
service at all?
We weren't together. Like, she physically was leaving with Justin. Like, okay, I couldn't afford the shit.
Why would
He
she
was gonna
take
go.
her makeup?
She did take makeup. She took a whole bag. Yeah.
The big flower bag? Like the suitcase?
No, she had a backpack.
Backpack.
It's a backpack, a nice one, female. Yeah, she's always prepared. So.
Shaun, I think you guys got into a fight. I think it was just self-defense. Justin came at you, something weird happened, and you were just protecting yourself and the kids. That's what I think happened. And somehow they died.
No, sorry. No, honestly. I didn't even get to go. I literally have no transportation. I barely fit this shit in the storage. Like if you're lucky to walk to the store, like, not that I went out it, but I walked to freaking Family Dollar to get water.
She wouldn't have left her kids like that, no.
I mean, she's done it half a dozen times. We've been divorced for 2 years. She's a third of Grant's. Like, whatever. Yeah.
Which is more of a reason for you to be very upset with her.
I was just disappointed, you know. I can't change her, but I couldn't make her homeless. Like, oh, that's my mom's and, you know, her mom's thing. I should have kicked her out, forced her out. Like, it's one thing to cripple somebody enough to not have anywhere to live, you know.
There on March 8, 2021, he went to the home of Michael Dubkowski, a 66-year-old man who had once mentored him as a child. According to Shaun, Dubkowski had sexually abused him in his youth, and now Shaun wanted revenge. He bludgeoned Dubkowski to death in his home, stole his car, and left. Within days, law enforcement across multiple states was searching for Shaun Lannon, now linked to at least 5 murders. He was finally located in Missouri on March 10th, driving Dubkowski's stolen vehicle. When officers arrested him, they were shocked by his demeanor. He showed no remorse and casually confessed to killing 5 people. Then he said something that would change the course of the investigation entirely. He claimed he had killed 16 people in total. After his arrest, investigators from New Mexico, New Jersey, and Missouri began working together to unravel Shaun Lannon's claims.
Can we get you anything? I know there's you bring food, right? We're bringing you some McDonald's when it gets here. Like I said, we're kind of coming in middle of the road here. I just want to kind of talk to you some about some things that happened in New Mexico in general, but Albuquerque after the fact. You know, from wherever you're ready to begin, man. Like, I mean, I know you just kind of tell me how you got into New Mexico and how some of this went down.
I got a job assignment in New Mexico 4 years ago. For the kids, nanny. The nanny was Diana. Sometime later, Jennifer comes. You know, and, Dee and Jennifer never get along. So at some point, Diana took a job with corrections and did that. And Jen stayed at the house, failed out of rehab a couple times. Pretty much always had nanny off and on, covered on the kids. I worked a lot. Recently I lost my job after I got sick. Apparently I had endocarditis, a lot of infection in my heart. Apparently there was a puncture in the lung at some point. I never knew it. Maybe that was the source. In the hospital, lost my job, came back. I wish I'd learned to walk again. Unemployment. Pretty much getting evicted and leaving the house. Plan was to get some nutrition, get the kids back safe. So, one day I took a walk at Walmart, put some dollar stroller, and to get groceries. Pretty good walk from where I lived on Kingman Avenue to Walmart. A half hour into the walk, I realized I didn't have my food card, so I turned around, came back, went in the front door, went down the hallway to get my food card on my dresser. I noticed it was quiet, and the kids opened the door, Jenna and Chester in there. I knew they were divorced, whatever, but I was fucking ignorant. So I was like idiots. The kids grabbed my card. Justin said that they were with his girlfriend. I'm like, you gotta be an idiot. Your girlfriend, your wife's got my kids, so you got your girlfriend. So call the kids, nothing. Open the door, cross your mind. It's pile of blankets behind the blankets of the kids. Pick up. Pretty much like right on top of them, no response. Pick up, not breathing. Doesn't seem like she's breathing, so I'm flipping out. I put her against me, I could feel her. She got shallow breaths. She's tall on this. So I'm screaming at the two of them, like, what the fuck she did to the kids? And my arm, I got no pulse, no respirations. I'm flipping out, like, what the f you do? Justin's putting on his clothes, comes in like, done this 100 times, and like, they're fine. I'm like, they're not fine, they're not breathing. What the f you do? Because when they drugged them something in their medicine, Jen didn't think I was being serious. She comes in, looks at me, she grabs Shaun Michael. She got on a pulse. She's not breathing on pulse. I'm like, I know. I check Shaun. She's got a pulse. She starts saying that she killed the Garrison baby. That's it. We conceived Shaun at Garrison Lake. It was our baby. Justin ran out the room, out the house immediately. At this point, we're just crying and holding the kids. Jen's adamant she's gonna overdose on the heroin. She kisses the kids on the forehead, all three of them. And says, I'll see you in a minute. She goes to draw up her shit. I put her on the couch in the living room. Positioned the couch at the door so that when the nanny got there in a couple hours, she could, so she opened the door, I would hit the couch and she'd have, she had blankets and pillows on her. I went back to the room. They said they also blew heroin smoke in their faces, so they didn't know if Narcan would work. We looked around the garage and I found one. Narcan's a single layer applicator. There's 2 kids. So I grabbed a jerry rig something in about less than a minute. Took 2 sports cup straws, some duct tape, put them together, put them over the applicator, rolled their faces, bodies put together there, and I put in each one. I fired it off. Nothing happened. They assumed like I'd done it for other people. It was like immediate, they'd always pop up. So, I kissed him on the head and I told him I'd see him in a minute. And I went to the bedroom. Jen was already out with the heroin. It wasn't enough to take her life. So she wanted me to make sure she went too, for sure. Once I realized she was breathing, she wasn't gonna OD. I went in the other room, psyched myself up, repeating that kind of emotionally charged statement of, you killed the baby. So I had enough whatever to do it. Alright.
During interrogations, Shaun described his killings with an unsettling calmness, providing details only the killer could know. His confession to the 5 murders was corroborated by physical evidence, but his claim of having killed 16 people raised even more questions. Detectives scoured missing persons reports in New Mexico, focusing on individuals who had disappeared between 2017 and 2021, the period Shaun claimed his killings took place. They searched properties linked to Shaun, including his previous residences and surrounding desert areas, but no further remains were found. Some officers believed his claim of 16 victims was an attempt to manipulate law enforcement, either to appear more powerful or to stall the investigation process. In New Mexico, prosecutors focused on building a strong case for the 4 murders committed there. Forensic teams analyzed the truck found at the airport, collecting DNA, fingerprints, and blood spatter evidence that confirmed Shaun's confession. They also interviewed Jennifer's friends and family, building a timeline that aligned with Shaun's version of events. Meanwhile, in New Jersey, detectives focused on the murder of Michael Dabkowski. They searched Dabkowski's home and seized evidence of the violent bludgeoning that ended his life. While Shaun insisted the killing was revenge for childhood sexual abuse, Dabkowski had never been charged or investigated for such allegations. Prosecutors noted that even if the claim were true, it did not justify murder in the eyes of the law. One chilling detail investigators noted was Shaun's lack of remorse. In interviews, he often smiled or laughed lightly while describing his actions, calling them necessary or something that had to be done. Psychologists later assessed him for antisocial personality disorder, narcissistic traits, and potential psychopathy, concluding he showed signs of all three.
Taking pleasure in it.
Authorities continued to investigate his claims of other killings, interviewing associates, checking travel records, and searching for links to cold cases. To this day, no additional victims have been confirmed beyond the 5 murders for which Shaun was convicted. But for many involved in the investigation, a nagging question remains. Was Shaun Lannon telling the truth about his body count? Or was it all part of his twisted need for control and attention? On March 10, 2021, 3 days after the gruesome discovery at the Albuquerque airport, and just 2 days after Michael Dabkowski's murder in New Jersey, authorities tracked Shaun Lannon to Missouri. Using GPS data from Dabkowski's stolen car, highway cameras, and toll records, they pinpointed his location in a rural area near St. Louis. When officers approached the vehicle, they expected resistance. Instead, Shaun Lannon surrendered without a fight. His demeanor was calm, almost eerily so, as officers handcuffed him and read him his rights. During transportation back to the station, Shaun remained quiet, staring blankly out the window, as if already processing his next moves. At the station, detectives began their interrogation with questions about Michael Dabkowski. Shaun quickly confessed to bludgeoning Dabkowski to death, claiming it was revenge for years of sexual abuse. Detectives noted how casually he spoke about the killing, describing the attack with detached precision. He told them it had to be done. But what came next stunned investigators. Shaun admitted that he was also responsible for the 4 bodies found in the pickup truck in Albuquerque.
I put the pistol behind her head and I pulled the trigger.
How long between the time that you shoot Jennifer, that you shoot Justin?
It was at least a week. Took a while.
How did you get him to come over?
I was baiting him as if I was Jennifer on the phone. Yeah.
So you thought you was to meet Jennifer?
Yeah. Finally, that kid comes over, William or Matthew, whatever the fuck his name is, comes over with Felicity, his girlfriend. She looked like she was like 12 years old. And I shouldn't hurt anyone, they don't have to. So he's like, they're looking for money for anything. I'm like, I'll give you a food card. They like, just take like $40. You know? And I was like, all I need is later in the week, give me a ride to get some water. I'm not gonna let her go no water. So one of those times he came back, he didn't have Felicity. And that's when I shot him in the back of the head. I shot him in the garage. So he was walking, he was in front of me, he was looking at some of the fine china, he wanted to hawk it or something, heading back in towards the house. Kids were in the far back bedroom, when the door was locked anyway, we took a sort of barricade, just with all the moving stuff so that they couldn't come out. He didn't know it was coming. Put it up to the back of his head, pulled the trigger. It's disgusting. Again. Fell right there on the floor. I stepped over, walked, checked the kids. Took him like another day or two to figure out how to put him in something. It's pretty fucking disgusting. Finally got all 3 of the bodies outside the house, in the yard. Take them out the back. Make the slider door around the backside. And put them underneath this tree, and I put like the grill and all that stuff, blockading them in. Because we still lived in the house, cleaned up what I could. All the while the landlord was in and out, constantly checking the house. Another variable.
He described killing his ex-wife Jennifer, then luring Justin Mata and Matthew Miller to his house and murdering them one after the other. He explained how he dismembered their bodies, packed them in plastic bins, and stored them in the garage. When he contacted Randall Apostolon to help move the bins, he killed him too after Randall refused to assist.
And then, as I pack up the stuff, I'd take stuff to use one of my friend's trucks, take it to storage, put the kids in the front seats with me, and then pick up at the storage containers. Took them, not those storage containers, they were outside the house, the actual stuff. took them to storage until the house was pretty much empty. At some point he brought me the boxes and put them in the back. I couldn't come up with enough money for the vehicle, so he was going to take the truck back, so I found somewhere else for the boxes to be in storage containers. I was going to hold them for $150. He wanted another $300 once we got to his place. I don't have another $300.
The other guy or Miguel?
No, Randy wanted another $300 to hold the boxes. So I didn't have $300. So he's like, well, I'm going to drop you back off. So we left his place, came back to the Pearl. The box was still in the back. Pulled in right there. We got in a fight. I killed him in the front seat. He was in the driver's seat. I hit him 2 or 3 times with my hands. I flipped the key to the off position. And I proceeded to daytime, the same day I got picked up. People, no one happened to see anything. At some point my hand got sore, I hit him with a hammer. Blood was splattered. No one came around. I literally got out, cleaned the windows, put something over them, flipped them to the drivers, from the drivers to the passenger. It's pretty fucking disgusting. Huge puddle underneath the truck coming out the side door. I tried to clean that up too.
The room fell silent when Shaun paused before continuing. With a slight smirk, he told detectives, "That's not all. I've killed 16 people." His confession sent chills down the spines of every investigator in the room. He wouldn't provide names or details for the other alleged victims, only saying most were in New Mexico. Law enforcement from New Mexico and New Jersey were immediately notified. Detectives flew to Missouri to conduct joint interviews, each hoping to extract more information about these possible additional murders. However, Shaun remained vague, seemingly enjoying the attention his claims brought him. Some officers believed he was telling the truth, while others suspected he was fabricating numbers to appear more powerful than he was. After days of interviews and confessions, Shaun was formally charged with 5 counts of murder, 4 in New Mexico and 1 in New Jersey. He waived his extradition rights and was first sent to New Jersey to face trial for Debkowski's murder. The prosecution argued that Shaun had planned Debkowski's killing days in advance. They presented evidence of phone records showing Shaun had contacted Debkowski to arrange a visit under the guise of reconnecting after years apart. Once inside the house, he attacked Debkowski with a blunt object, inflicting severe head trauma that resulted in immediate death. During the trial, Shaun's defense team attempted to portray him as a victim of childhood sexual abuse, claiming his actions were triggered by unresolved trauma. However, prosecutors countered that there was no documented evidence or prior complaints indicating Debkowski had ever abused Shaun or any other child. They emphasized that even if such abuse had occurred, premeditated murder was not justified. In December 2021, Shaun was convicted of first-degree murder in New Jersey. The judge sentenced him to 35 years in prison without the possibility of parole, citing the exceptional cruelty of the crime and Shaun's lack of remorse as aggravating factors. Once sentencing was completed in New Jersey, Shaun was extradited to New Mexico to face trial for the 4 murders committed there. Given his previous confession and overwhelming forensic evidence, his defense team negotiated a plea agreement to avoid the death penalty. In New Mexico court, Shaun pleaded guilty to 4 counts of second-degree murder for the killings of Jennifer Lannon, Justin Mata, Matthew Miller, and Randall Apostolon. He received 4 consecutive 15-year sentences, totaling 60 years in prison. Prosecutors stated they accepted the plea to ensure justice without putting the victims' families through painful trials. During sentencing, family members of the victims spoke directly to Shaun, calling him a monster and telling him he would rot alone exactly where he belongs. Throughout both trials, Shaun showed minimal emotion. He rarely looked at the families of his victims, and when he did, his expression remained empty. For investigators, this only reinforced their belief that they were dealing with a man devoid of empathy. With his trials concluded, Shaun Lannon is now serving his time in a New Jersey prison, where he will remain for 35 years before being transferred to New Mexico to serve the additional 60 years. Effectively, he will spend the rest of his life behind bars with no possibility of release. Authorities continue to investigate Shaun's claim that he killed 16 people. Detectives in New Mexico have reopened several cold cases to check for potential links. However, as of now, no additional victims have been confirmed. Some believe Shaun exaggerated his body count to appear more notorious, while others think he might have hidden victims in the vast deserts of New Mexico, their bodies never to be found. What remains undeniable is the brutality and cold calculation with which he ended the lives of 5 innocent people. The case of Shaun Lannon remains one of the most disturbing murder sprees in recent American history. His victims included friends, acquaintances, and his own ex-wife, murdered not in moments of impulse but through carefully planned and brutally executed acts. His chilling confessions, particularly his claim of having killed 16 people, continue to haunt law enforcement agencies today. What makes Shaun's story so terrifying isn't just the number of lives he took. It's the casual way he described his crimes, showing no remorse, no regret, and no empathy for his victims or their families. As Shaun Lannon spends the rest of his life behind bars, his case serves as a dark reminder that some monsters don't hide in shadows. They live among us, their rage simmering beneath calm smiles till the day they decide to unleash it. Thank you for staying with us through this chilling story. If you found this case as shocking as we did, subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the darkest criminal minds in America. Drop a comment below. Do you believe Shaun Lannon really killed 16 people? Or was it all part of his twisted attempt to maintain power even after his arrest?
911, what's location of emergency?
Oh my God! I need somebody out here.
What's going on?
Oh God!
There's 4 people.
In my mama's house, and
Who are these people that are in the house?
it's my mom and my grandma and my granny and my stepdad.
It was a quiet Monday morning in Pendleton, South Carolina. The sun was barely creeping over the trees lining Refuge Road, casting long shadows across the gravel driveways and aging porches of this rural neighborhood. Birds chirped, dogs barked in the distance, and life moved at its usual slow pace until a single frantic call shattered the stillness. It was 38-year-old Amy Vilardis, a woman known in the community for her pet grooming business and polite smile. But that morning, her screams tore through the dispatcher's headset as she claimed to have stumbled upon a nightmare inside her parents' home next door.
Now, it all started here about 12:30 this afternoon. That's when deputies from Anderson County got a call about a possible shooting. When investigators went into the home, they found the victim. Discovery was made today by Kathy Scott's daughter. Now, deputies tell me at this point they don't know how or why this happened, only that they have a lot of investigating to do.
When deputies arrived, the scene inside was unlike anything they had ever encountered. In the living room, kitchen, and back hallway lay the bodies of 4 people: Amy's mother, Kathy Scott, her stepfather, Mike Scott, and their mothers, Violet Taylor and Barbara Scott. All of them had been brutally stabbed and then shot, their bodies crumpled in pools of blood that soaked into the carpet and walls. Investigators described the scene as pure horror, a quiet family home transformed into a slaughterhouse overnight.
Investigators say the killer slashed their throats and shot them dead, and the culprit is still on the loose.
We've followed through with every lead that has come in. We still don't have any witnesses or anyone to confess.
Investigators are telling us they want anyone with information to call the Anderson County Sheriff's Office. You can also report any tips anonymously.
What could drive someone to wipe out an entire family, including 2 elderly women in their 80s who could barely walk? Who had the rage or cold-blooded calculation to plan such an execution? As deputies began their work, Amy and her husband Ross stood outside, arms around each other, crying and shaking as they watched the forensic teams comb through the house that once held Thanksgiving dinners and Christmas mornings.
The stuff you see on TV, that has nothing, that you can't compare that. You can't compare that.
A week after a quadruple murder, a family is still searching for answers.
We used to have family dinners right here.
At first, Amy and Ross were treated as devastated relatives, offering statements to deputies about their last visits with Kathy and Mike. But beneath the sobs and tears, detectives sensed something they couldn't quite put into words. The crime itself was methodical. 4 separate victims attacked with both a knife and a gun, one after the other, each left where they fell. There were no signs of forced entry, ransacking, or hurried escape. Whoever committed this massacre knew the house, knew the routine, and knew exactly where each person would be that night. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the case grew cold. Pendleton residents whispered among themselves, terrified that a killer still roamed free. Billboards went up offering rewards. True crime shows profiled the tragedy, urging anyone with information to come forward. But the Scotts murders remained an unsolved mystery, buried under layers of grief and small-town silence. Yet behind closed doors, detectives continued their work. They reviewed surveillance footage frame by frame, analyzed financial records, examined shoe prints in blood, and waited for the smallest crack to form. 8 long years would pass before they felt ready to act. 8 years in which Amy and Ross carried on with life, running their business, paying bills, posting online about their days, until December 2023, when the hammer finally fell. Because as investigators alleged, the real horror of this case was not just what happened that Halloween night, it was who they believed was responsible. Not a masked stranger in the shadows, not a random drifter or burglar gone wrong, but the very people who called the victims Mom and Grandma. The Scott family was well known in Pendleton. Kathy Scott, 60, and her husband Mike Scott, 58, had been married for decades. Kathy worked as a caretaker, while Mike had spent his life saving and investing carefully. They lived with their mothers, Violet Taylor, 85, and Barbara Scott, 80, in a modest home filled with antiques and framed family photos. Their daughter Amy and her husband Ross Vilardis lived next door in a small trailer. To outsiders, it seemed like an ideal arrangement. Amy could check on her elderly grandmothers daily, and her mother was always nearby for help. But beneath the surface, the Vilardis were struggling. Amy's pet grooming business barely made enough to cover bills. Ross worked sporadically, unable to hold steady employment due to health and discipline issues. They were falling behind on payments, rent, and utilities. Friends recalled Amy complaining about money constantly and hinting that her parents had plenty they never used. In the months leading up to the murders, Kathy had started locking her bedroom and her cash safe. Mike Scott was known to keep tens of thousands of dollars in cash hidden around the house, wrapped in bundles and labeled. Neighbors said Mike didn't trust banks much. His savings were for future care expenses, repairs, and his wife's needs if anything ever happened to him. No one could have imagined that this decision to keep cash hidden would one day become the motive for an unthinkable crime. Halloween night in Pendleton was uneventful. Children trick-or-treated down Refuge Road, and porch lights flickered with carved pumpkins. Kathy and Mike spent the evening quietly at home with their mothers, handing out candy. Amy and Ross reportedly visited briefly, dropping off extra candy bags. Nothing seemed unusual, but sometime after nightfall, horror struck. Investigators believe the killer entered the home calmly, perhaps even welcomed inside. Kathy was found stabbed multiple times and shot once in the back. Mike was stabbed repeatedly and then shot in the chest. Violet and Barbara, frail and unable to flee, were killed execution-style with gunshots to the head. There were no signs of defensive wounds on the elderly women, suggesting they were sitting or lying down, unable to fight back. The killer moved through the house systematically, room to room, ensuring no one survived. Cash was stolen from hiding spots and bundles were missing from Mike's labeled envelopes. The crime was swift, methodical, and deeply personal.
Well, only on Fox here at 6 o'clock, the Anderson County Sheriff is naming 2 persons of interest in an unsolved quadruple homicide in Pendleton. The killings dominated news coverage across the upstate in 2015. And now, almost 8 years later, the sheriff says this couple, Amy and Ross Vilardis, are persons of interest.
From day one, detectives considered Amy and Ross as possible suspects. They were the only people with clear knowledge of the house layout, victim routines, and hidden cash. But there was no direct evidence tying them to the murders. Investigators scoured the scene for fingerprints, DNA, and footprints. Then they found a partial shoe print in blood, consistent with a red Asics sneaker. Ross owned a pair of red Asics. Surveillance footage later showed him wearing them while buying beer on Halloween night. In addition, cell phone records placed him in the area at the time of the murders, despite claims of being home asleep. The most damning evidence, however, came years later. Detectives found over $67,000 in cash wrapped in bundles identical to Mike Scott's labeling system hidden at the Vilardis trailer. Serial numbers match bills missing from the Scotts' home. Amy and Ross had no explanation for why they possessed such large sums when their bank accounts were nearly empty. Despite suspicions, the case remained unsolved until new cold case detectives reopened it in 2023. Using advanced forensic testing, reanalysis of financial records, and re-interviewing witnesses, they built a comprehensive case. On December 14, 2023, authorities arrested Amy and Ross Vilardi, charging them each with 4 counts of murder. It was a cold December morning when the Anderson County Sheriff's Office finally moved in. 8 long years had passed since Halloween night 2015, when the Scott family was slaughtered in their own home, and whispers of who could have committed such a horrific act haunted the quiet streets of Pendleton. But now officers lined Refuge Road, lights flashing against the bare winter trees as they approached the small trailer where Amy and Ross Vilardi lived. Amy was working at her pet grooming business when deputies entered. According to witnesses, she was brushing a golden retriever on the grooming table, humming to herself as she clipped its fur. When officers surrounded her, she reportedly looked confused at first, greeting them with a hesitant smile. Then they told her she was under arrest for the murder of her mother, stepfather, and grandmothers. The clippers fell from her hand onto the table with a loud clatter, and her smile vanished instantly. She backed away, her face twisted in disbelief as she shouted, "What are you talking about?" "No, this can't be happening. I didn't do anything." Deputies handcuffed her in front of stunned customers, leading her out to the squad car as tears streamed down her cheeks. "Please, I didn't do this. I love my mama," she kept repeating, her voice cracking in panic. But the officers remained silent, guiding her into the vehicle as reporters gathered outside, cameras rolling to capture every second of her downfall. At the same time, another team of deputies approached the trailer next door, where Ross was still asleep in bed. They entered swiftly, guns drawn, shouting commands to wake him. Ross sat up groggily, squinting in confusion as deputies ordered him to put his hands behind his head. Unlike Amy, he said nothing. He followed every command mechanically, his face expressionless, as if he had known this day would come. Officers cuffed him and led him outside in his sweatpants and slippers, his head bowed, ignoring the barrage of questions shouted by reporters waiting at the end of the driveway.
Vilardis, of course, are related to the victims. Specifically, Amy Vilardi is the daughter of victim Kathy Scott, and also granddaughter to Violet Taylor. So Ross is Amy's husband, and again, together we have arrested them just a little bit ago at their residence in Columbia, South Carolina.
The arrest sent shockwaves through Pendleton. Residents had lived for years with unease, knowing a killer was free, but few ever believed Amy and Ross were truly responsible. Some neighbors defended them, describing how they hosted summer barbecues, gave out treats on Halloween, and seemed like a normal struggling couple. Others whispered that Amy always seemed desperate for money, often asking neighbors for small loans she never repaid. In the days following their arrest, prosecutors held a press conference revealing the evidence gathered over nearly a decade. They described how detectives found large sums of cash hidden in the Vilardis trailer, wrapped in the same labeled bundles as Mike Scott's missing money. They presented photos of Ross wearing his red Asics sneakers on Halloween night, the same shoes linked to bloody prints found in the victim's home. They revealed phone records placing him near the crime scene at the time of the murders, despite his earlier alibi that he had been asleep. Perhaps the most disturbing revelation was the motive prosecutors described. They argued that Amy, facing mounting debts and business failure, saw her parents' cash reserves as the solution to all her problems. She knew where the money was hidden and when her parents would be home. They painted Ross as the executioner, using his knowledge of combat-style knife attacks to inflict lethal wounds quickly before shooting each victim to ensure death. Prosecutors described it as a premeditated, cold-blooded slaughter committed out of sheer greed.
Just to be clear, I think it is the state's belief that Ms. Vilardi is the mastermind of this situation. The one person who stood to truly benefit from their death was Amy Vilardi. She quickly cleaned up the residence where the murders took place, where the 4 bodies had been for well over 24 hours.
When Amy and Ross appeared in court for their bond hearing, the room was packed with reporters, family members, and curious residents. Amy sobbed uncontrollably as her charges were read aloud. Ross remained silent, staring straight ahead with deadened eyes. The victims' family members gave emotional statements, begging the judge to deny bond. "They murdered 4 innocent people who loved them," Kathy's sister cried, her voice shaking. "They don't deserve to ever walk free again."
All new at 10, bond denied for a couple charged with murder in connection to a quadruple homicide from 2015. This hearing happening today at the Anderson County Courthouse. The suspects, Amy Vilardi and her husband Ross, are charged with 4 counts of murder. This case is one that really rocked the Anderson community. Days after Halloween in 2015, Kathy and Mike Scott, Barbara Scott, and Violet Taylor, they were all found stabbed and shot to death in a home that they shared on Refuge Road in Pendleton. Investigators described this as a gruesome and devastating scene. Now, the sheriff tells us that they've suspected the Vilardis for several years, but he cannot provide any further details on that evidence they have against them or possible motive. He said that would all be coming out in court. However, he is confident that they're one step closer to justice. We've interviewed the Vilardis several times over the last few years. The first time we actually interviewed Amy, and that was just one day after the bodies were found. When we talked with her in 2016, we asked her who she thought may have killed her family members, and this was her response.
I mean, I don't see how anybody could want to. I really don't.
Both the Vilardis live on the same property as the victims, again, just steps away from the home where the bodies were found.
I wish that the families weren't having to deal with this, but I hope this is a good day for them, at least the first step of getting justice.
Again, more details on this case will be revealed in the trial. That date has not yet been set, but they are partnering with the state's Attorney General's office to prosecute this case.
The judge agreed, denying bond for both Amy and Ross, citing the brutality of the crime, the risk of flight, and the devastating impact on surviving family members. But for investigators, the evidence told a different story, one of betrayal, greed, and a cold plan executed by the very people the victims trusted most. With bond denied and the arrest complete, attention shifted to what would become one of South Carolina's most closely watched murder trials in years. Prosecutors began preparing their case with meticulous detail, knowing that convicting Amy and Ross would require weaving a narrative that convinced jurors beyond a reasonable doubt. In pretrial motions, the prosecution laid out its strategy. They would show financial records proving Amy and Ross were deeply in debt, owing thousands on credit cards, vehicle payments, and utility bills. They would present testimony from friends and neighbors who heard Amy complain that her parents had all this money sitting around while we're drowning. They planned to use forensic experts to explain how the shoe prints in blood matched Ross's red Asics sneakers and how phone tower data placed him at the Scotts' home that night. Prosecutors also hinted at introducing jail phone calls made by Amy after her arrest. In one recording, she told Ross, "They don't have anything solid, just stay quiet like we planned." In another call, she broke down sobbing, "I just wanted to fix everything. This wasn't supposed to happen like this." Defense attorneys filed motions to exclude these calls from trial, arguing they were taken out of context and violated her privacy. They also moved to suppress the cash evidence, claiming it was a gift Kathy Scott gave Amy before her death. "They can't prove when she gave it to her," Amy's attorney argued. "That cash wasn't stolen, it was inherited." Meanwhile, Ross's defense focused on his alleged innocence, arguing that his shoe print was not a full match and that wearing similar shoes was common. His attorney described Ross as a quiet man with no violent history, no criminal record, and no motive to kill the only family he had. The community watched anxiously as both sides built their cases. News stations ran daily updates, interviewing legal experts who speculated on whether prosecutors could prove their theory of Amy as the mastermind and Ross as the executioner. Many believed the circumstantial evidence was strong, but others feared it might not be enough without direct DNA or eyewitness testimony. As jury selection neared, the judge ruled the trial would remain in Anderson County despite defense concerns about pretrial publicity tainting the jury pool. Prosecutors promised to pursue life without parole for both defendants, citing the aggravating circumstances of multiple murders, financial motive, and the vulnerability of elderly victims. Family members prepared impact statements, hoping to finally see justice for their loved ones.
We have been immensely impacted, both emotionally and physically, for the past 8 years. This impact stretches not only to the family, but to friends and the community as a whole. Our lives are forever altered from this brutal crime. Everything was taken from us that day, and we've had to continue with little answers. I lost my best friend, my only sibling, Mike, and my mother. I've had to navigate a whole new normal without them, and I continue to struggle with this daily. Amy does not deserve freedom and should be considered a flight risk. We, the family, the friends, and the community, request bond be denied today and at any time in the future.
The trial is expected to begin later this year, promising emotional testimony, shocking revelations, and an unflinching look into how greed can twist love into something deadly. For the people of Pendleton, it will be a moment to finally hear every detail of what happened on Halloween night 2015, and to decide if Amy and Ross Vilardi are truly guilty of the unthinkable crime that destroyed an entire family. The aftermath of the Vilardi arrest left Pendleton in a state of uneasy reflection. For 8 years, this small rural community had lived under the shadow of an unsolved quadruple homicide, fearing that a ruthless killer was still among them. When the truth emerged that the alleged murderers were the victim's own daughter and son-in-law, grief transformed into horror. Neighbors spoke to reporters about how they felt betrayed. We trusted them. Amy would come over crying about how much she missed her mama, and we'd comfort her. Knowing now what she's accused of doing, it makes my stomach turn.
The daughter got angry with her and kept the children from Kathy.
So tell us about that.
It seemed that they really tried to help Amy a lot. And Mike and Kathy, they really took care of the kids. And it broke Kathy and Mike's heart. She just really missed the kids, and the two older ladies that lived there, they were used to the kids coming in and out.
You think Kathy was afraid at all of Amy and Ross?
No, she never expressed that. But it was always the talk of the area.
The Scott home, once filled with the smell of Kathy's home-cooked meals and Mike's laughter echoing through the halls, remained boarded up. Overgrown grass covered the yard, and wind whistled through broken window panes. It became a grim reminder of how greed and desperation could destroy everything in its path. Some neighbors called it cursed, refusing to walk near it at night. Family members tried to pick up the pieces. Kathy and Mike's surviving relatives spent months sorting through their belongings, donating furniture to charity, and disposing of blood-stained carpets and walls. It felt like burying them all over again, one cousin said tearfully. Every room told a story of their last moments. The community gathered for a memorial vigil after the arrests, holding candles in the darkness outside the Scott home. A pastor prayed for justice and healing, but also for Amy and Ross's children, who now face the unbearable reality that their parents might spend the rest of their lives behind bars for murdering their own family. Those kids are innocent victims too, the pastor said. They will carry this burden forever. As the trial looms ahead, one question echoes louder than all others. How could a daughter look her own mother in the eyes and plan her brutal death? How could a son-in-law stand over his elderly grandmothers-in-law, defenseless and frail, and end their lives with cold efficiency? These are the questions that haunt not just the courtroom, but an entire community that once believed the Vilardi were nothing more than a struggling couple fighting to make ends meet. Pendleton has always been a town of front porch waves and shared casseroles, where neighbors check on each other during storms and people still gather for Sunday service. For years, residents grieved the horrific murders of Kathy and Mike Scott and their mothers, praying for answers and safety. They planted flowers outside the Scott home, placed wreaths on the porch, and whispered silent prayers as they passed by on their way to work or school. When Amy and Ross were arrested in December 2023, shock rippled through every street. People who once offered them charity and comfort now avoided their names, feeling betrayed in the deepest way possible. "It's like your worst nightmare," a neighbor told reporters, to find out the killer wasn't a stranger in the woods or a masked intruder, but family, blood. As the legal process moves forward, prosecutors remain confident in their case. They plan to show jurors a timeline pieced together over 8 painstaking years. Financial debts mounting in the Vilardis household, Amy's increasingly desperate pleas for help, and Ross's silent compliance as the alleged muscle behind the plan. They believe Amy orchestrated the crime with a mind fixed solely on the cash she knew was hidden within her parents' home. They say Ross carried out the murders with calculated precision, ensuring no witness remained alive. Yet their defense teams maintain innocence. They argue that the cash was a gift from Kathy before her death, that the shoe print evidence is inconclusive, and that neither Amy nor Ross had the mental capacity or violent nature to execute such a calculated massacre. They insist that investigators built their theory backward, driven by community pressure and the fear of an unsolved mass murder tainting Pendleton's reputation. For Amy and Ross's children, the tragedy cuts deeper than anyone else can imagine. They've lost their grandparents and great-grandmothers, and now they may lose both parents to life sentences in prison. Community members have come together to support them, raising funds to ensure they can continue schooling, therapy, and daily life away from the darkness of what happened. As the final court dates approach, Pendleton waits with bated breath for answers to questions that may never be fully understood. What drives a daughter to turn against her own blood? Was it desperation, greed, or a mind consumed by darkness no one else could see? Did Ross act out of loyalty, fear, or his own selfish desire for the stolen money? Or is there still a piece of this puzzle missing, a truth yet to be revealed that will change everything once again? These questions remain suspended in the humid South Carolina air, drifting through Refuge Road like a ghost that refuses to leave. Because the real horror of the Amy Vilardis case isn't just the night 4 innocent lives were brutally ended. It's the reality that sometimes the people you trust most are the ones who hold the sharpest knives. And when that betrayal comes, there are no warning signs, only silence, darkness, and the cold echo of screams that never fade.
There's a significant amount of blood next to the bed, too. Decent. More than just vomit.
Oh, my knees. Keep going. Hey, no, quick. You jumped the fence. Headed back towards Collinwood.
It was a quiet November night in Georgia. The trees stood bare under the muted glow of streetlights, their skeletal branches casting eerie shadows onto empty roads. Autumn had just begun to surrender to winter, and with the dropping temperatures came an early darkness that blanketed the rural neighborhoods. In one modest home, tucked away from the bustle of the city, 2 young men were sharing drinks, laughter, and memories of old times. To anyone looking in from the outside, it would have seemed like a typical night between 2 friends who had known each other for years. But beyond the thin walls of that house, hidden beneath the comfortable veil of friendship, something far more sinister was brewing. 23-year-old Brandon Christopher Reisner had always seemed like an ordinary young man to those who knew him. He worked as a haunted house scare actor. On the other side of that night's gathering was 21-year-old Aaron William Davis, his longtime friend, who was passing through Georgia on his way to visit his girlfriend in Alabama. Aaron had just graduated from Brigham Young University, Idaho, and life was opening up in new and hopeful ways for him. His future looked bright, and his plans were filled with dreams only just beginning to come true. But within the walls of Brandon Reisner's home, friendship was about to be betrayed in the most horrifying way possible.
There's nothing. That's what I was looking for. There's nothing.
Y'all don't think he's in there?
No, I didn't know there.
Okay. Son's name's Aaron Davis. Supposed to be coming to Rome to see some friends and going to Alabama to see his girlfriend.
I don't think he made it there.
Nah. I wonder where he's at. Why his car down there?
Crazy thing is, there's nothing. I mean, there was no acceleration. It's almost like it just
Road off in there or something.
yeah. Did it go all the way up in park or something? Yeah, I mean, there's lights on like it's, but it ain't running.
I rode over here to see what was going on. He was down there changing out the trash.
As the hours passed and the beers emptied, the two friends settled down for the night. Aaron fell asleep upstairs in a guest bedroom, likely smiling with gratitude for the warmth, comfort, and familiarity of staying at a friend's place along his journey. But little did he know that he would never wake up to continue his trip. The young man who trusted his friend with his life was about to lose it in the most brutal way imaginable. When the sun rose the next morning, Aaron Davis was dead, stabbed dozens of times in a savage attack that left his body disfigured and violated. The very hands that once offered him a friendly embrace became the hands that ended his life in a storm of violence and rage. The betrayal sent shockwaves through both their families, through their community, and across the state. The question that haunted everyone was, why? Why would Brandon kill someone he loved like a brother? Why would he destroy a life that trusted him so deeply? Was it mental illness, jealousy, or was there an evil within him that no one had ever seen before? This is the chilling and heartbreaking story of how a simple night between friends ended in bloodshed, betrayal, and a life sentence without parole for a murderer no one saw coming.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Officer Grau, we're the Rome Police Department. We're following up on all this. Can you walk me through what's going on? Just make sure we're all on the same page.
We started drinking around 12 yesterday.
Yeah, it's you and Aaron, right?
Yeah, me and Aaron.
Okay. Anyone else with you guys?
And we went to bars, and I had bought some red wine.
Yeah.
And came back here, started drinking red wine. He doesn't drink too often, so
yeah.
He had gone upstairs and was just puking everywhere to the toilet. It was like standing up and puking for some reason. I went downstairs and he told me that he doesn't need any help. I went downstairs, dropped a bottle, cut my pinky, and I went to the urgent care this morning, took a shower, went to bed.
Okay.
And then woke up 1 to 2 a.m. and his car was gone.
So how long have you and Aaron been friends?
We met when I was in 5th grade.
Okay.
And then we became more like close friends, I'd say, like around freshman year.
We're still trying to find him. I don't know. You know, he may just be staying at a hotel, sleeping off whatever happened last night. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean he's in danger or anything like that. Do you have any problem with us checking inside the house? No problem at all? No ferocious iguanas or anything? No. You never know, man. People have all kinds of pets.
Brandon Christopher Reisner was born and raised in Georgia, spending most of his life in the suburban outskirts where communities were tight-knit and neighbors knew each other by name. As a child, he was known for his creativity and dramatic flair, often performing small skits for family gatherings and school events. By his late teens, Brandon developed a deep interest in horror-themed entertainment. This passion led him to work at local haunted houses as a scare actor, dressing up in terrifying costumes, smearing his face with fake blood, and jumping out at guests to earn screams and applause. For Brandon, this was his stage, his opportunity to live out his love for performance and horror in a safe, controlled environment. Aaron William Davis grew up alongside Brandon. They attended the same high school, shared many classes, and their families often saw each other at community events. Aaron, however, was quite different from Brandon. Where Brandon thrived on drama and darkness, Aaron was a quiet, bright, and spiritual young man with a natural inclination for kindness. After graduating high school, Aaron moved to Idaho to study at Brigham Young University, Idaho, where he excelled in his coursework and built strong friendships. Despite moving away for college, Aaron and Brandon maintained their friendship. They texted regularly, joked about their high school memories, and checked in on each other's lives. To Aaron, Brandon was a friend he could rely on, someone who had known him since they were teenagers, someone who had seen him grow up. In November 2022, after graduating from BYU, Idaho, Aaron decided to make a road trip down to Alabama to visit his girlfriend. On the way, he planned a short stop in Georgia to see Brandon and spend a night catching up before continuing his journey. For Brandon, Aaron's visit should have been a happy reunion. But beneath his seemingly cheerful exterior, there were signs of darkness. Friends later recalled Brandon sharing disturbing song lyrics he had written, referencing violent imagery and death. Some said he had become withdrawn and unpredictable, although no one suspected he could ever commit such brutality. Brandon himself never indicated that he felt anger or hatred towards Aaron. There were no visible fights, no open tensions. Their relationship on the surface was one of mutual trust and history. But on that November night, as the two friends sat down to drink and talk about their lives, something snapped within Brandon Reisner. The friendly mask he wore fell away, revealing a side of him no one had seen before. A side capable of violence that would shock an entire community. It was November 11, 2022, a date that would soon become a memorial of grief for the Davis family. The evening began with Brandon inviting Aaron to his home. They sat together in his living room, cans of beer resting on the table, the television playing quietly in the background. Brandon ordered beers with high alcohol content, and as the night wore on, Aaron became visibly inebriated. According to prosecutors, Brandon continued to encourage him to drink, ensuring he was too intoxicated to drive or even move around comfortably.
I next want to talk about some of the steps the defendant took to try to cover up this crime after it happened. Charlie Girl Schellinger is the girlfriend of Aaron, and Aaron was actually on his way to see her, and he was just stopping in Rome at his best friend's house on the way to go see her. It was unusual for Aaron and Charlie Girl not to communicate frequently. And so when she had not heard from him, and the last time she heard from him was in the early evening of Thursday the 10th. When she still hadn't heard from Aaron the next day, she then reaches out to Brandon because she knows that that's where Aaron had been staying. And he starts telling her, you know, he's with me, but his phone is dead, talks about telling him, you know, they're on a walk right now, he still hasn't charged it, stuff like that. At this point, Aaron is dead. And what the defendant is doing is lying and attempting to cover up his crime. And then it gets to a level where she is continuing to be persistent. And so this is on the 11th, excuse me, this one might be the 12th. But she is still kind of wondering what's going on, and here's where the defendant comes up with a new story that Aaron has gone home to Cumming, Georgia to get a Switch, which is presumably a Nintendo Switch, a type of game, and that he is then going to go to Alabama the next day. So that is what he is explaining as to where Aaron could be or why Aaron is no longer responding. He searches for Cosmic Dog Outpost. We know that that's where he took Aaron on Thursday night. They were at Cosmic Dog for about an hour, around 7:45. The defendant ordered drinks for them. He ordered two different, they each had 2 beers, but they were high content alcohol beers. And that's significant because Aaron was not a drinker. It was part of his faith, so it was not something that Aaron did frequently. And the defendant ordered very high alcohol content drinks for them both, and he paid. And so we just know this kind of just indicate he had looked up Cosmic Dog, and they do ultimately go there. We know that they go after Cosmic Dog to Giggity's, where the defendant again pays and orders drinks from them. And after that, they return to the defendant's residence.
Eventually, as midnight approached, Aaron made his way upstairs to the guest bedroom, unaware that this would be the last place he would ever sleep. The details of what went through Brandon's mind in the hours that followed remain unclear to this day. No messages, no diary entries, and no statements have ever explained why he did what he did. What is known is that sometime during the night or in the early hours of November 12th, Brandon retrieved a blade-like object and walked up the stairs to where his friend lay sleeping. In the darkness of that room, illuminated only by dim moonlight filtering through the curtains, Brandon launched a savage attack. He stabbed Aaron approximately 40 times. The wounds covered his head, chest, torso, and limbs. The force and nature of the wounds suggested a rage that was explosive and uncontrolled. Yet prosecutors noted that there were no defensive wounds on Aaron's body. He never woke up. He never had a chance to defend himself. Brandon's attack was so sudden and so brutal that Aaron's life ended before he could process what was happening. But the horror did not end there. Driven by a twisted impulse, Brandon attempted to dismember Aaron's body. He removed a portion of Aaron's small intestine, which was never recovered. No one knows what he did with it or why he felt compelled to remove it. This act transformed an already savage murder into something even more macabre, revealing a level of depravity that shocked law enforcement and the community alike.
Do you mind coming in here with me so you can just show me where I'm going and all that?
Yeah.
Just makes it a little bit easier. The bathroom is up there that he was up checking in. I got you. Oh, Lord. Is that what's in the laundry right now, I guess? Okay.
After the murder, Brandon began his attempts to cover up his crime. He purchased cleaning supplies from Walmart to scrub away the blood that had soaked the mattress, the carpet, the rug, and even the ceiling. The scene he left behind was described as gruesome, with blood spatter covering the room where Aaron had been sleeping peacefully just hours earlier.
There's a significant amount of blood next to the bed, too. Decent. More than just vomit all the way over here. Looks like it's been there a while, but he could have been throwing up blood, I guess. See all that? It's weird to be throwing up blood like that. Not to mention, if he had alcohol poisoning, he wouldn't have been able to get up and move around this morning. Especially at 2 or 3 in the morning. Just poured powder right there, too.
That's it right now.
Oh, my knees. Keep going. Stay no foot. Now. He jumped the fence, headed back towards Collinwood.
Somewhere between LaPorte and East 9, gotta be in these houses. Go up to the house, get in the backyard. Okay. Possible 1043 suspect.
Run back towards 8. Give me more units.
Once Brandon believed he had cleaned up enough to avoid detection, he dragged Aaron's lifeless body out of the house and loaded it into his vehicle. He drove to a wooded area nearby where a tree had recently uprooted, leaving behind a natural hole in the earth. There he buried Aaron's body under 6 to 12 inches of dirt, creating an unmarked grave in the silent forest. As if that were not enough, he also attempted to dispose of Aaron's car by driving it to a creek and submerging it, hoping it would sink and never be found. But the secrets he tried to bury would soon come to light. The disappearance of Aaron Davis did not go unnoticed for long. When his family and girlfriend realized he never arrived in Alabama as planned, worry turned into panic. They attempted to reach him multiple times, but his phone went straight to voicemail. Aaron was responsible, punctual, and deeply connected to his loved ones. It was entirely out of character for him to vanish without a word. Soon after, local law enforcement received a call about an abandoned vehicle found partially submerged in a creek at a nearby park. It was Aaron's car. When officers examined it, they noted signs that it had been deliberately pushed into the water to conceal it. The discovery of the car set off alarms for investigators. It suggested foul play rather than a simple accident or disappearance. Police traced Aaron's last known location using his phone records and found that he had spent the night at Brandon Reisner's home. Investigators arrived at Brandon's residence to question him. However, by the time they got there, Brandon was gone. The home itself appeared normal on the outside, but as officers stepped inside, a far more disturbing reality unfolded before them. Blood evidence was found despite Brandon's attempts to clean. Forensic teams quickly determined that a violent incident had taken place. Blood spatter on the ceiling, mattress, carpet, and surrounding furniture suggested an intense and prolonged attack. Investigators found receipts from Walmart for cleaning supplies purchased shortly after Aaron's disappearance, and surveillance footage confirmed Brandon buying them alone. The trail of evidence was clear. Brandon had committed a violent crime and attempted to cover it up. Further searching of the home revealed additional disturbing clues. Lyrics written by Brandon were discovered, referencing death, violence, and dismemberment. While they alone were not criminal, in the context of Aaron's disappearance, they painted a chilling portrait of his mental state leading up to the murder. After an intense manhunt lasting several days, Brandon Reisner turned himself in to authorities. He arrived with a vacant stare, showing little emotion as officers handcuffed him and read him his rights. During interrogation, Brandon remained mostly silent, refusing to provide a motive for his actions. His only admission was that Aaron's body was buried in a wooded area nearby. Officers accompanied Brandon to the location, where he directed them to the shallow grave hidden beneath fallen leaves and loose soil. The scene was haunting. Aaron's body was discovered in a fetal position, wrapped partially in bedding from the guest bedroom. His remains showed the severity of the attack, approximately 40 stab wounds covering his head, torso, arms, and legs. Medical examiners confirmed there were no defensive wounds, supporting the theory that he was murdered in his sleep. An autopsy further revealed that a portion of Aaron's small intestine was missing. Despite extensive searches, it was never recovered, and Brandon never explained why he removed it or what he did with it. The horror of this detail added an even darker dimension to an already brutal crime.
He also gave a description of what he did after, that he dragged Aaron's body into the shower in order to drain his blood, that he began removing parts of Aaron's body in order to, quote, lighten the load, that he put some of Aaron's remains in a suitcase for transport, and he then went and put Aaron's body in the trunk of Aaron's car. This is all Thursday evening / early morning on Friday because it's after midnight. And he started cleaning the bedroom but didn't have enough cleaning supplies, so he goes to sleep with plans to wake up early the next morning to continue. But he does throw the knife onto the lawn. Friday morning, he retrieves the knife from the lawn where he had previously tossed it. He begins cleaning the bedroom. We know he searched about if there's duct tape at Walmart. He does go to Walmart by 6 p.m. that evening where he purchases the duct tape. And we know that the duct tape was used to wrap Aaron's body. After night fell, he began scattering evidence in different random dumpsters around Rome. He went to the wooded area off of Tunland Drive in order to bury Aaron where he wouldn't be found. And then he took Aaron's car to Heritage Park. At Heritage Park, he tossed the knife and some of Aaron's body parts into the river, including the missing piece of small intestine. He then pushed Aaron's car into the ditch that we saw pictures of earlier, but that was a deviation from his original plan. He had put the bricks in the backpack in the car with the intention of using those to wedge down the gas pedal so that the car would go further in, potentially even into the river, but it had been physically exhausting on him to bury Aaron's body, and so he was tired at that point, so he just put the car into neutral and let it roll into that ditch where it was later found.
Prosecutors ordered a mental health evaluation to determine if Brandon was competent to stand trial. The evaluation concluded that he was indeed competent. While he may have suffered from underlying mental health issues, there was no diagnosis severe enough to prevent him from understanding the nature of his actions or participating in his defense. The investigation left both families shattered. For Aaron's loved ones, the loss was unimaginable. For Brandon's family, it was the devastating realization that their son was a murderer capable of unthinkable brutality. The case was now ready to proceed to its final chapter in court, where Brandon would face the consequences of his violent betrayal. On November 16, 2022, just days after Aaron's murder, Brandon Reisner turned himself in to local authorities. The community was on high alert, and news of his surrender spread quickly. Brandon walked into the police station alone, his demeanor described as eerily calm, almost resigned. He did not resist arrest or attempt to flee any further. When officers placed him in handcuffs, Brandon showed no outward signs of remorse or fear. To the detectives who processed him, his flat effect was unsettling. There were no tears, no pleas for understanding, just silent compliance as he was fingerprinted and booked on suspicion of murder.
You're Brandon. Rachel. Jeremy. Thank you. Rachel, Jeremy, if y'all can have a seat out here, I'm gonna take him back there and we'll talk, man. Would you like to talk in private?
You need to send somebody out to find the body.
Okay. I'll be right back out with you, okay? Anything in your pockets that I need to know about?
Wallet and keys.
Have those real quick. Anything else?
No.
Sorry about that. Go ahead and have a seat. Alright, like I was saying, I'm Detective York. I work here at the Rome PD, of course. Detective York, yep, that's me. So before we get started, got some paperwork you gotta fill. So I'm gonna read you some stuff before we get started, okay? You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before you are asked questions and have him with you during questioning.
I would like a lawyer.
You would like a lawyer, okay? Alright, sit tight for just a minute.
At his initial arraignment, Brandon appeared via video call from jail. His hair was unkempt, and his expression remained blank as the judge read the preliminary charges against him. His defense attorney requested a mental health evaluation to determine whether Brandon understood the nature of the proceedings. This was quickly granted, given the brutality and bizarre details of the case, including the attempted dismemberment. Within weeks, mental health experts declared him competent to stand trial. They concluded that while he may have experienced psychological disturbances, he was fully aware of his actions and their consequences.
I've had multiple conversations with my client, as you can imagine, Your Honor, over the last 2.5 years about what happened, about best course of action. And to his credit, he understood that what he did was irrevocable and wrong, and that he wanted to take responsibility for it. I naturally, after reviewing the file and the state not offering any prior problems or convictions in aggravation, was curious as to if someone has never had a problem with the law, why all of a sudden this? So it naturally led me to believe that there were mental problems, severe mental problems, which resulted in not one but two psychological evaluations, one that we privately employed and the other done by the state. Both psychological evaluations concluded that legally there was no sustainable insanity defense, but both evaluators said notwithstanding that, there were multiple psychological problems that Brandon was suffering from that still played a very large part that night.
The arrest marked the beginning of the legal journey that would soon see Brandon convicted for one of Georgia's most shocking murders in recent memory. In the months following his arrest, prosecutors built a case that was as thorough as it was horrifying. They charged Brandon Reisner with 12 counts, including malice murder, 2 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, aggravated battery, concealing the death of another, abandonment of a dead body, theft by taking, removal of body parts from the scene of a death, tampering with evidence, and obstruction of an officer. When Brandon appeared in court, the public gallery was filled with both his family and Aaron's loved ones. The tension in the room was palpable. Prosecutors presented the graphic details of the crime scene, showing images of the blood-soaked bedroom and explaining the extent of Aaron's injuries. They described how Brandon purchased cleaning supplies from Walmart in an attempt to scrub away evidence. Surveillance videos showed him scanning each item at the self-checkout, wearing an expression that prosecutors described as hauntingly casual. Testimonies from forensic experts revealed that the attack was sudden and brutal, with injuries indicating a rage-fueled assault that continued long after Aaron had died. Throughout the trial, Brandon showed minimal emotion. He avoided eye contact with Aaron's family, who wept quietly as the details of the murder were recounted. His own parents sat silently, holding each other for comfort as their son's horrific actions were laid bare before the court. Faced with overwhelming evidence, Brandon pleaded guilty to all charges. There was no deal or negotiation. His attorney simply stated that Brandon accepted full responsibility for his actions. The courtroom fell silent as the judge prepared to deliver his sentence. Family members on both sides clutched tissues, bracing themselves for the final verdict. On July 18, 2024, Brandon Christopher Reisner was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge described the murder as one of the most savage and senseless acts of violence ever seen in his courtroom.
Justice requires that Mr. Reisner be sentenced on count 1 to imprisonment for life without parole. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's based upon the premeditation, the manner of death, and the efforts to cover up all of the acts. On count 2, felony murder, that will be vacated by operation of law. Count 3, to which Mr. Reisner also pled guilty, will be vacated by operation of law. Count 4, the aggravated assault, will be merged into count 1, as will count 5, aggravated assault, and count 6, aggravated battery. Count 7, concealing the death of another, the sentence will be 10 years. Count 8, abandonment of a dead body, there will be a sentence of 3 years. Count 9, theft by taking, motor vehicle with a value more than $5,000. The sentence will be 10 years. Count 10, removal of body parts, be a sentence of 12 months. Count 11, tampering with evidence, be a sentence of 10 years. And count 12, obstruction, that's a misdemeanor. The sentence will be 12 months. So the total sentence is life imprisonment without parole. Did you want to add something, Ms. Mayo?
Your Honor, count 11 is a misdemeanor. You had said 10 years.
Count 11, yes, tampering with evidence?
Yes, sir.
Thought I looked that up? Okay. That will be a sentence of 12 months as opposed to 10 years. The sentence speaks for itself.
After the sentencing, Aaron Davis's family addressed the court. His mother, holding a framed photograph of her son in his graduation robes, spoke through tears about the dreams he carried, the career he was about to start, the family he wanted to build, and the kindness he shared with everyone around him. "He trusted you, Brandon," she said, her voice breaking. "He loved you like a brother, and you took him from us in the worst way imaginable."
Brandon knew how much Aaron's siblings needed and loved him, but Brandon stabbed Aaron to death, made him suffer first with that knowledge that Aaron was so needed. In October, before he spent a lot of nights at my house in October, and then Brandon murdered Aaron in November, and he was all the while planning to murder my son while I'm cooking for him. Brandon is the worst type of evil, where he chose to stab Aaron to death and cause such a tremendous loss and pain to those who treated him with love.
Brandon's parents also spoke, apologizing deeply to the Davis family. They said they could never imagine that their son was capable of such evil. His father wept openly, stating, "I raised him better than this. I don't understand. I will never understand." Outside the courthouse, reporters gathered to document the sentencing. The case had attracted significant media attention due to its brutality and the shocking betrayal between friends. Community members left flowers at the site where Aaron's car was found, and a memorial service was held in his honor at his family's church in Idaho. His former professors at Brigham Young University, Idaho, wrote tributes about his intelligence, work ethic, and unwavering kindness, remembering him as a student who left a mark on everyone he met. As for Brandon, he now spends his days in prison, serving a life sentence without any hope of release. No motive was ever confirmed. Psychologists speculated that a combination of mental instability, possible psychosis, and violent fantasy may have driven him to kill. But in the absence of a confession explaining why, the world is left only with speculation and unanswered questions. Why would someone murder their best friend in such a monstrous way? Was it premeditated, or did something inside Brandon snap that night? These questions will forever haunt the families involved, alongside the unbearable pain of knowing that Aaron's life was cut short by someone he trusted the most. In the end, The murder of Aaron Davis by Brandon Reisner stands as a tragic reminder that sometimes the darkest evil comes not from strangers lurking in the shadows, but from the people closest to us, the ones we trust without question. And that truth is more terrifying than any haunted house Brandon ever worked in.
The light turned green. I went to make a left. I looked this way to make sure
from
there.
Okay.
I looked this way to make sure that there were no cars coming, and I guess he was crossing the street.
All right, let me get you. You have your driver's license? You okay? You want to sit down? You need water?
I feel like I'm gonna throw
All
up.
right, have a seat right here in the shade, okay? You don't want to be looking at this. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Have a seat.
On March 4th, 2024, the University of Miami campus woke up to the devastating news of a loss they never imagined. A young man full of promise and dreams, who had dedicated his life to learning, leading, and giving back, was suddenly gone. Daniel "Danny" Bishop, a name etched with positivity, resilience, and leadership, became the center of a tragedy that left not only his family, but an entire community shattered. That morning seemed ordinary. Students were walking to class, the roads buzzing with morning traffic, and Miami's humid spring warmth enveloped Coral Gables. But in a moment's misjudgment, in a lapse that should never have happened, Danny's life ended while he was doing something as routine as riding his scooter to campus for another day of striving towards his dual degrees in mathematics and psychology. What makes this loss even more painful is not only his young age or bright future, but the life he led. Danny was a survivor of gun violence, having lived through the horrific Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in 2018.
Possible shots fired at Stoneman Douglas High School.
This morning, chilling images and 911 calls from the Parkland massacre, painting a timeline of terror. 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz seen here loading an AR-15 in the hallway of Stoneman Douglas High School as a frightened freshman walks past. The Sun-Sentinel reporting that according to that freshman, Cruz telling him, "You'd better get out of here, things are gonna start getting messy." Moments later, Cruz killing 17 students and staff.
He dedicated his life to being there for others, serving as a beacon of hope for his peers and community. He was weeks away from graduation, ready to inspire the next generation as a mathematics teacher at Gulliver Preparatory School, where he was already hired. This is not the story of a criminal or a perpetrator. This is the story of a victim whose only fault was trusting that the crosswalk he was using would keep him safe. It's the story of how negligence and expired responsibilities destroyed a family's dreams and a community's hopes. It's also a story about resilience, remembrance, and the enduring impact Danny had in his short 22 years of life. Today, we will explore who Danny Bishop was, what happened on that tragic morning, how the investigation unfolded, what the legal outcome has been, and how his family and friends continue to carry his name forward through initiatives built in his honor. This is the tragic yet inspiring story of Daniel "Danny" Bishop, the bright light of Miami who left too soon, but whose legacy continues to burn brightly. Stay with us till the end to understand why his story must be told, to remember a life lost to negligence, and to remind us of the value of each fleeting moment we live. Daniel Bishop was born in 2001 and raised in South Florida. From a young age, his teachers described him as a student who wasn't just academically brilliant, but also deeply kind. He excelled in mathematics and loved understanding how the world worked, often sitting for hours working through complex problems while listening to music in his room. But his life took a traumatic turn on February 14th, 2018. As a junior at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, Danny was among the thousands of students forced to hide, run, or barricade themselves during the horrific mass shooting that killed 17 students and staff members. For many survivors, life never returned to normal. For Danny, the incident ignited a determination to live fully, help others, and lead with empathy. After graduating high school, Danny chose to attend the University of Miami, pursuing a double major in mathematics and psychology. His choice reflected both his analytical mind and his commitment to understanding people and supporting mental health causes. On campus, he wasn't just another student. He was a leader involved in multiple organizations. Friends described Danny as the person who made every gathering better. He was known for sending encouraging texts before exams, staying up late to help classmates study, and cheering the loudest at campus events. His academic advisors spoke of his dreams of becoming an educator who would revolutionize math learning for students who felt disconnected from it. In early 2024, Danny received an offer to teach mathematics at Gulliver Preparatory School in Miami after graduation. He was excited to step into the classroom as a teacher who not only delivered lessons but built confidence and inspired futures, just as his mentors did for him. Despite his past trauma, he lived with hope, always finding ways to spread positivity. His mother said, "Danny was never angry at the world. He always believed he could make it better." But none of his dreams, plans, and positivity could have prepared him or his family for what happened on March 4th, 2024. The day that took away a son, a brother, a friend, a mentor, and a future teacher from everyone who loved and believed in him. On the morning of March 4th, 2024, Danny Bishop woke up like any other weekday. He gathered his books, checked his emails for the day's class schedule, and got ready to ride his scooter from his apartment to the University of Miami campus. It was a short commute, one he did almost daily, taking the streets and crosswalks that many students used. Around 8:30 a.m., Danny approached the intersection near Lejeune Road and Altara Avenue, a familiar crosswalk just blocks from campus. Witnesses recall seeing him waiting at the pedestrian crossing signal, adjusting his backpack straps, and looking both ways before proceeding across. At that exact moment, a white SUV driven by Veronica Bilbao de la Vega approached the intersection. According to the police report and later confirmed statements, Veronica Bilbao de la Vega failed to yield to Danny, striking him as he crossed within the marked pedestrian crosswalk. The impact threw him several feet forward, resulting in immediate life-threatening injuries. Emergency responders were called within minutes, and bystanders rushed to provide first aid. Danny was still conscious when they arrived, but severely injured.
Do you see the accident at all?
I didn't. I just showed up.
Okay, he's good to go.
He's a student.
929, have the school board respond as well and block off completely southbound at Bird Road. Did anybody witness this? You witness it?
I was driving.
Oh, where's your car at?
Right
This
there.
one?
Witnesses described the scene as heartbreaking. One student said, "He was just lying there, barely moving. We were screaming at the driver to stop the car, but she had already stopped and was just sitting there crying."
What's going on?
What happened? Okay,
I was the first car at the light.
Uh-huh.
The light turned green.
You had the green
I
light?
had the green light. I was making a left. I looked this way to make sure that no cars were coming, and I didn't see him. And then I heard something.
You said that you were at the light. Were you coming this way?
I was at this light right here, looking
Right here.
at this.
You wanted to go south on the June.
Correct. I was making a left.
Where did you see him? Where was he coming from?
I didn't see him.
You didn't see where he...
I didn't see where he was. I'm assuming he was coming from this way.
Probably crossing
the
okay.
street, because I was looking that way to make sure that there were no cars coming.
Okay.
And then I heard that I hit someone. Like I did. I was just trying to get out. Oh my God.
Okay. I know. Did you call him? You want to call him?
I called him.
Give me a second, okay?
First responders stabilized Danny at the scene and transported him to Jackson Memorial Hospital's Ryder Trauma Center, where trauma surgeons worked tirelessly to save him. Sadly, despite their best efforts, Danny Bishop succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. Later investigations revealed that Bilbao de la Vega's driver's license had been expired since 2020, 4 years before the incident. She told officers she didn't see him as she turned into the crosswalk area, but multiple witnesses and traffic camera footage indicated clear pedestrian right-of-way and visibility. The immediate aftermath was filled with shock and grief. The impact of this crash was not just a momentary tragedy, it was the irreversible erasure of a life filled with kindness, talent, and dreams. And as the Bishop family began to process their loss, The legal and investigative proceedings into the circumstances of his death had only just begun. The investigation into Daniel "Danny" Bishop's tragic death began within minutes of the collision. Coral Gables Police Department officers arrived at the scene near Lejeune Road and Altara Avenue to find the aftermath of a devastating crash. First responders were tending to Danny as traffic investigators began cordoning off the area, placing evidence markers on the pavement to document his scooter's final resting place, the impact point, and skid marks left by the SUV. Witnesses were gathered on the sidewalks, many visibly shaken and emotional after witnessing what had just happened.
We are conducting an interview for case number 2400-1610. Can you please tell me from your point of view what happened?
Yeah, so from my point of view, I was in the car, I was on the passenger side, my husband was driving, my husband yells. So I looked up. From what I saw, there was a black Cadillac Escalade turning. There was something under it, looked like a body, and she just kept going until she got to about here, runs over it twice, and then she kind of went a little bit further, and then he was, by then my husband had already stopped the car and had popped out.
So you were sitting inside your vehicle, correct?
Yeah.
Where were you sitting specifically
passenger
inside?
side.
From passenger?
Yeah, from passenger.
And your vehicle was at a complete stop?
Yeah, we were stopped we had a red light.
Okay. Do you remember what lane you were on?
Yeah, we were in the lane closest to the right.
So the sidewalk is right next to your right-hand
The
side?
sidewalk is right next to
And you have another lane to the left?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall if there was any other vehicles between your vehicle and the Escalade as it was making the left turn?
I believe there was. I believe there was another one, yeah.
Did you see the initial impact?
I did not see the initial impact.
What is the first thing that you recall seeing?
The black Escalade. The first thing I saw was the black Escalade.
So you saw it as it was going in front of you? As if it's going in front of you?
It was like there, my car. So like more so on my husband's side.
But did you see the black Escalade before impact or after impact?
After impact.
Okay. So you first noticed the Escalade after the impact took place?
Yeah.
And what was the first thing that you remember as you saw the Escalade?
The first thing I saw was the Escalade and then my husband yelling, "Oh my God, and then you saw something underneath it.
Did your husband yelling alert you to look up and look in that direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think he was also trying to honk, but I don't think he was quite getting that out. He was like, oh my God, she's hitting someone. And then that's when I noticed.
Did you exit the vehicle at any point?
I did.
Okay.
I did, because my husband exited and ran out, and so we're in the right lane. I was like, oh my God, do I go out and help him? But we also had my child in the car, so I knew I couldn't just, exit and leave. I didn't want to leave the car right on Lejeune, so I actually turned it right. There was a car in that meter, so I parked right behind it.
And you remained with your child in the vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Can you recall any information that you can think of that might be able to assist us? Did you see any other witnesses or?
There was definitely other people on the sidewalk with my husband. You just saw I called 911 also.
Okay.
As I was getting out, I quickly called 911. She told me that she thought there was other vehicles already on the way, and I said, please hurry, because it looked like there was a lot of blood already pooling around him. So I told her, please hurry, because it didn't look good. And she told me, I think there's already vehicles on the way. And you saw him. He wasn't really moving at all. Right in the middle. And then my husband was already there at that point. And he just didn't look like he was moving.
Thank you for staying, and thank you for helping out with your statement. I really appreciate it.
Officers took down immediate statements, learning that Danny had been waiting at the crosswalk signal before crossing with the pedestrian light in his favor. Detectives retrieved surveillance footage from traffic cameras and nearby business security systems to piece together a clear timeline of events. The footage confirmed what eyewitnesses described. Danny arrived at the crosswalk on his scooter, paused, waited for the signal, and then began to cross at a steady pace. At that moment, the white SUV driven by Veronica Bilbao de la Vega approached the intersection and failed to stop, striking him with force that threw him forward onto the asphalt.
Can you please tell me where were you when you saw the crash?
I'm going to give you everything that I know as a fact. I'm not going to speculate too much. I was coming north on Ponce, coming out of here.
On which lane?
On the outer lane.
So on the next to the sidewalk?
Next to the sidewalk.
Okay.
And I pulled up to the stoplight. It was red.
Okay. Were you the first vehicle at the stop bar?
Okay. And just to clarify, you mean Lejeune, right?
I'm sorry, not Ponce, Lejeune.
Lejeune, okay. Okay,
sorry. I get this.
It's alright, it's alright.
On Lejeune, we're coming out of here. My son had a doctor's appointment. We're on the outer lane closest to the sidewalk. We're heading north. I stop. I'm right at the crosswalk is right in front of me. And what I saw of the accident was to me it looked like a kid on a scooter crossing on the crosswalk, and simultaneously a black Escalade turning from Altara to Lejeune. She was turning, and then she hit the individual.
You saw the impact?
I saw the impact. Hit him. He kept on going. Ran over him with front tires. I saw his legs twist, his head underneath one of the tires. I saw the scooter getting mangled, and then she proceeded and rolled over him with the rear tires. I think it was just the outer right rear tire, if I'm not mistaken. And then she stopped. I was like yelling, like beeping, like stop, stop, stop. Once the impact hit, I was beeping at her, like stop, stop, stop. Obviously my window was down, it happened so quickly. I put the car in park, opened the door, came out because there was cars coming to stop them.
The footage showed no obstruction of visibility. Weather conditions were clear that morning, with no rainfall or glare affecting the driver's view. Officers also noted that the crosswalk lines were freshly painted and entirely visible. During their initial questioning, Bilbao de la Vega appeared distraught, crying as she told officers she just didn't see him.
You're gonna be okay, okay? You're gonna be okay. They're transporting him. They're transporting him to the hospital.
Southwest 623 and 105, 1491, angle 370 minutes.
I know from seafood. Oh yeah.
Oh my god, oh my god.
Where is your husband coming from? Yeah,
You want
to have water or anything here? Some water. No water. You're just coming from the gym over here? Hey, I'm gonna mute. You guys recording? I'm gonna mute real quick. It's a student? Yeah. 45? Yeah. It's a student, bro.
You know they're gonna need a living to start traveling that way.
She's a parent at St. Thomas. She's going crazy, waiting for us.
What do we know so far? Is it a student?
He's a student? Yeah. They got a post, but they're not gonna be able to stop.
What happened?
It looked to me, she was making a left turn here. She got the green light, made a left turn. She probably left one of the gyms here, and then he must have been crossing this way.
She's a mom for I know her.
Right there. He was the first on scene. He has a phone. He has a phone. I don't know if you guys want to go through his book bag to look up his ID.
However, standard protocol required that officers run her driver's license through the state database. When they did, it revealed her license had expired in 2020, almost 4 years prior to the accident. She had been driving illegally all this time. Officers at the scene issued her citations immediately for failure to yield to a pedestrian and driving with an expired license.
So just a quick question, okay? I'm going to be in charge of the crash report, the incident report, and the entire traffic homicide report as well, okay? I'm doing all aspects of the investigation. The first thing that I need to do with you is just speak about the accident, okay? It's not a criminal investigation. It's a traffic crash investigation. It's not criminal in nature, okay? Knowing that, I know your attorney's already here. Are you willing to talk to us about the crash itself, just the facts of the crash? Okay, I'll go talk to him right now, okay? And then if not, we can do it with him. I don't mind doing it. I just wanted to get that from. Right, just give me a few minutes. Hello, sir.
Hi,
I'm
guys.
Officer Garcia. How are you?
David, welcome.
Are you representing the driver? Okay.
How's she doing?
She's a little distraught. It's understandable. I need to speak to her about the crash itself. Okay, that is not a criminal matter. It's not a criminal investigation.
We're in agreement that's protected and it can't be used against her if, in the event you decide, which hopefully you won't, that it's a criminal investigation.
Correct.
And we'll agree to that. And
Driver's privilege at crash, right? So I want to find the. She doesn't. I don't.
22.
Outlaw. You gotta outlaw those fight all the time. How many times are you driving and all of a sudden you like almost kill somebody?
We do traffic homicide. We see it all the time.
And they're like bugs. You treat them like bugs.
Can you please tell me where you're coming from?
Stopped at the light right there. I was the first car at the light of the June.
On Altara?
And Altara.
So you were facing in
facing
this direction,
Gables
westbound?
Yes.
Okay. At a complete stop. So you had a red light. Nobody in front of you. And then what happened?
The light turned green and I started to go. The cars to my left were stopped. The cars that were facing north were stopped.
So vehicles on the southbound lane, I mean on the northbound lane of Lejeune were stopped?
They were stopped.
Okay.
So I looked to the
But
right.
when you said to the left of you, is that the vehicles on Lejeune or vehicles on Altara?
The vehicles that were stopped at the light on Lejeune.
So the vehicles on the two lanes of Lejeune were at a complete stop?
Yes.
Okay.
So I looked to the right as I was turning to make sure that no cars were coming towards me. And then I hit him. I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember exactly where I was. I know I was facing this way, south, and that's it. And then I pulled to the side.
At what point did you first see him?
I didn't see him.
You never saw him at
I
all?
never saw him.
So
I never saw
what
him.
alerted you that something was wrong?
Well, first I heard the front of my car, the thump, and then
You heard an impact?
I heard an impact. And then I felt my car like go over something.
Take your time.
As per Florida law, they also requested a full toxicology screening. The results came back negative for alcohol or drugs, eliminating intoxication as a factor in the collision. Meanwhile, the Coral Gables accident reconstruction team conducted a thorough inspection of her SUV. They checked the braking systems, steering components, and tires for defects or failures. Their report indicated that the vehicle was mechanically sound, with no faults contributing to the accident. This finding narrowed the cause of the collision to driver error and negligence alone. Officers further examined the traffic light programming to confirm pedestrian signal timing. Their analysis showed Danny had at least 12 seconds remaining on his crossing signal when the impact occurred. As the investigation continued, Danny's family hired private attorneys and an independent accident reconstruction expert to conduct their own analysis. Their findings mirrored the official police investigation, concluding that Danny followed all rules as a pedestrian, while the driver failed to yield despite clear right-of-way. In the weeks after his death, detectives completed a comprehensive report summarizing all gathered evidence. This included CCTV footage, witness statements, the medical examiner's cause of death analysis, confirming blunt force trauma from the crash, and the driver's DMV records documenting her expired license. For Danny's family, reading the final investigation report was excruciating. Each detail brought them back to the moment their son's life was stolen in an instant. His mother later said, "He was so careful. He always called me to say he reached class safely. He did everything right that morning." When the Coral Gables Police Department closed the investigation, they submitted their findings to the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office for legal action. While the charges recommended were traffic misdemeanors, the weight of the investigation's conclusion was undeniable. Danny Bishop's death was entirely preventable. It was not a random accident or an act of fate. It was the result of negligence, a negligence that took away a beloved son, friend, and future teacher from the world far too soon. After the Coral Gables Police Department concluded its investigation, the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office moved forward with charges against Veronica Bilbao de la Vega. The charges included failure to yield to a pedestrian and driving with an expired license, both misdemeanors under Florida traffic law. In court, Veronica appeared visibly remorseful. She entered a plea of no contest to both charges. During the sentencing hearing, She broke down in tears as she read her prepared statement to the court, apologizing to Danny's family. Her voice trembled as she said she could never forgive herself for what happened, that she saw his face every day and prayed for his peace. Danny's parents sat in the courtroom listening to the woman responsible for their son's death. The judge listened with solemn attention before announcing his sentence. Veronica Bilbao de la Vega was sentenced to 6 months of probation, 500 hours of community service, and a $1,000 fine. She was also ordered to complete a defensive driving course before reapplying for her license. Additionally, her probation terms included restrictions on driving and mandatory monthly reporting to document her community service progress. The court acknowledged the immense grief of Danny's family, but explained that under state law, misdemeanor traffic charges carried limited sentencing options. For the Bishop family, the sentence felt like a mere formality that could never equate to the loss they endured. Shortly after the sentencing, the Bishop family filed a civil wrongful death lawsuit against both Veronica and her husband. The lawsuit alleged negligence for her operating the vehicle illegally and negligent entrustment by her husband, claiming he knowingly allowed her to drive despite her license being expired since 2020. The family's attorney stated that while the criminal case ended with minimal punishment, the civil suit aimed to hold them financially accountable for the preventable loss of Danny's life. Legal experts suggest the case may reach an out-of-court settlement given the strong evidence of negligence. However, Danny's family has made it clear that any damages awarded will be used to further his legacy. They have pledged to direct all proceeds towards the foundation they created in his name, ensuring that even in his absence, Danny continues to support the education and growth of others. For the Bishop family, justice is not simply about punishment, but about honoring Danny's memory by creating positive change in the world he left behind. In the days following Danny Bishop's death, the University of Miami community plunged into mourning. Students gathered in silent circles on campus lawns, holding candles in memory of their friend, classmate, and leader. A vigil was organized by Hurricane Productions, the same student group where Danny had served as a dedicated member, hosting events and inspiring his peers. To honor his life and ensure his dreams live on, the University of Miami installed a memorial bench and plaque near the Student Center, one of Danny's favorite places on campus. The plaque reads, "In loving memory of Daniel Danny Bishop, a true bright light who taught us to lead with love, always." His story remains a reminder of how fragile life is, how negligence can erase decades of dreams in a moment, and how important it is to value each fleeting second we are given. Daniel Danny Bishop's life was one of purpose, resilience, and hope. Though his time was short, his impact was immeasurable. Today, his name lives on not as a victim alone, but as a symbol of kindness, advocacy, and a promise to continue building the better world he envisioned.
The call came in about 10:30 p.m. tonight. It came from a resident of the house.
And then I heard 2 pops. My mom screamed. I yelled out for her.
I promise you that we will leave no stone unturned in our efforts to identify and to bring to justice the suspects who brutally murdered Bin Ha Pan and terrorized her husband and daughter last night.
Sorry, I
Don't apologize, okay?
On the night of November 8, 2010, everything was in place. Jennifer Pan had been planning the attack for weeks. She had carefully orchestrated what would look like a violent home invasion, but behind the scenes, it was a cold-blooded execution. The motive? Freedom, revenge, and possibly money. That evening, Jennifer texted her boyfriend, Daniel Wong, and a man named Lenford Crawford, a friend of Daniel's known for shady connections. He, in turn, brought in 2 other men, David Vaganum, the shooter, and Eric Carty, a late addition to the plan. Each person had a role, and Jennifer was the one who set the plan in motion. Around 9:30 p.m., Jennifer said goodnight to her parents like any other night. They settled in upstairs, unaware that their daughter was already texting the hitmen, telling them the front door would be unlocked. Minutes later, 3 armed men entered the Pan residence through the front door. Jennifer claimed she was upstairs when they arrived and that she was dragged down at gunpoint and tied to the stair railing.
Have they tied you now?
Yeah, the number one has tied me,
Okay.
and now they're taking me down the stairs.
Describe first how he's tied you.
He grabbed my arm, and he pulled it to the back, and said, give me your other arm as well.
Okay.
And then I was trying to make a wide X so that I could later loosen if I needed it to, but he had pulled really, really tight. And
Okay.
I guess he felt my flinch, and that's when he quickly tied the second knot, I think. I don't exactly know. All I know is like I flinched, and then it got tighter.
So you were bound behind you?
Behind me, yes.
Okay.
But later evidence would suggest otherwise. She was never really bound, and her phone remained in her pocket the entire time. Downstairs, Han and Bic Pan were forced into the basement. Jennifer later said she heard her mother begging for their lives before multiple shots rang out.
Next thing I know, I think I heard my parents going down the stairs, and my mom was asking them for me to come with them. They wouldn't let me come with them. And after they said, the last thing I heard them say was, you lied to us. You lied to us. And then I heard 2 pops. My mom screamed. I yelled out for her. And a couple more pops.
Take your time. Take your time.
And I think I heard my mom say or moan or something, and then they did one more before they left, and then one of the guys said, we have to go now, it's been too long. And then they ran out the door.
Her father was shot twice, but somehow survived. Her mother was executed on the spot. With the job done, the men fled, leaving Jennifer tied loosely upstairs and the house in disarray. At 10:05 p.m., she called 911.
What? Avenue Road. Yes. Can you spell the street name for me, please? Dad? Ma'am. Hello? Hello? Yes? Ma'am, I need to know your address. Avenue Road, can you please spell it? Helen Avenue, my dad just went outside screaming. Ma'am, can you spell the street address for me, please? H-E-L-E-N. So broken, and I heard shots like pops. I don't know what's happening. I'm tied upstairs.
The operator's recording captures Jennifer's voice trembling, gasping for breath, portraying the role of a terrified daughter watching her family fall apart. But something was off. When police arrived, they found no signs of forced entry. The house was relatively undisturbed for what was supposedly a violent robbery. Jewelry and valuables were left untouched. And strangest of all, Jennifer's demeanor seemed too composed. Her story didn't add up.
And a guy was there, and he came at me and had string in his hands and tied my arms back and said, I have a gun behind your back. Do what I say. If you do what I say, then no one will get hurt. Where is the money? Show me where your money is. I have still a bit of money put aside from when I was waitressing, cash. So I showed him where it was, and he took it and put it in his pocket, I think. And then that's where they pushed me to my parents' room and asked me where the money was there, and I didn't really know. So they kind of like, one was right beside me, blocking my way to the door, while the other ones turned over the bed to find some more cash in my mom's bedside table.
In the ambulance, Han Pan, bleeding, barely conscious, managed to tell officers a crucial detail. He saw his daughter talking to the intruders like she knew them. That changed everything. Suddenly, Jennifer was no longer a victim. She was a suspect. Detectives began watching her closely. They analyzed her phone logs, her text messages, and her social media. What they found was damning. Dozens of messages coordinating the timeline of the attack, using code words, timestamps, and even a payment offer of $10,000. They confronted her days later in an interrogation room. Jennifer maintained her innocence, until she couldn't anymore.
Weird, I got his number.
Okay, and what's his number?
I don't memorize it.
Where can we find it?
On the cell phone. And on the other cell phone, on the cell phone.
On the Bell cell phone?
Yeah.
Where's that phone now?
I don't know what the SIM card is.
Okay, and how did you get a hold of this person?
Called him up.
And what did you say to him?
Vocabulary.
Okay, I appreciate that. How did it happen? How did they get there?
I don't know how they got there.
What was your request?
Come in and take me up.
How would they know who you were?
I was the only young girl in the house.
And what did you discuss with this person?
And I'd have money. And they'd to come take me out and then take it.
And how much was he going to charge for it then? Okay. Now, the guy you spoke to on the phone is the guy that showed up and you gave the money to.
I don't know if that was the same guy. I've never met him before.
Okay, did he say his name was?
They call him Homeboy.
Okay.
Over hours of questioning, on tape, her story shifted multiple times, each version more contradictory than the last. And eventually, she broke. She admitted to organizing the hit, but insisted it was meant only for her, not her parents. By then, the police knew that was another lie.
You had to tell him what you wanted, though.
I told him that I wanted to be killed.
And did he think that was something crazy?
He said, "Are you sure that's what you want?" And I said, "Yes."
Because I don't think many people get that request. Do you?
No, but that's what I wanted. And he asked me over and over just to make sure I was sure. And I said I was sure.
Okay, so what did you ask him to do then?
Come take me out and then leave.
Okay. Why did they do it when you were, when your parents were there then?
Never alone. In the nighttime.
Okay.
As soon as Han Pan regained consciousness, the investigation took a sharp turn. Despite having been shot twice in the face, losing vision in one eye, and enduring lifelong damage, Han told investigators something chilling. He remembered seeing Jennifer walking around freely, speaking with the intruders and not once acting afraid. He said she was not tied up, and at no point did she scream or plead for help, while her parents were being marched to the basement. Jennifer's carefully staged performance was falling apart. Detectives from the York Regional Police began combing through every detail of her story. Surveillance footage, cell phone records, and financial transactions were pulled. Her phone data revealed something explosive, a pattern of communication with Daniel Wong, Lenford Crawford, and David Milvaganam in the days and even hours leading up to the attack. Worse, they uncovered that this wasn't the first time Jennifer had plotted something sinister. Months earlier, she had allegedly asked an acquaintance if he could help kill her parents, offering money in return. That attempt never materialized, but it clearly showed intent. She wasn't acting on impulse. She had been planning their deaths for a long time. On November 12, 2010, just 4 days after the murder, police brought Jennifer back in for a second interview. This time, it wasn't just a chat, it was a full-blown interrogation. She sat in a grey room, her voice soft, her demeanor calm. Detectives confronted her with the inconsistencies. Why was her phone still in her waistband if she was tied up?
The only reason that I'm trying to, I need to do this is that I'm also going to ask you is that so take this back to, take it out of a traumatizing event, which it is, and put yourself into a more clinical position, because I want to see how you could physically get your phone out of your waistband. We're obviously going to need to know that. It's very important. So traumatize away, now put yourself into just a state of, I need to mechanically show how I can get access to my phone. Okay, because that's obviously very relevant. We know you made the phone call, but questions are going to obviously raise is that if my hands are bound and I'm against the railing, how do I talk to a 911 operator? Okay, so clinically, this is now a clinical demonstration. Just stand up, focus in on how you did it. And I want you to stick that in your waistband as an example. Okay, so just take your sweater off, because this will be a very smooth, very quick thing. It's a one-time demonstration. I'm not going to ask you to repeat it, but I need to go through it. Okay, so just take your sweater off. Stand up and turn around. Put this in the side that you believe it was in. Great. Turn around. So that you're looking away from me. You're looking exactly like, now here is where the banister is. Put your hands back behind your back, exactly how you remember they were. Okay? Now, and are you restrained from movement? How far can you move your hands from the banister?
They tied my upper arm.
Yes?
Around the banister.
Yes?
But my hands are bound together.
So your hands bound together, and this is the arm that's the strings wrapped around against the banister? Okay, so now how can you get to the phone? And how do you make the phone call? 911? And do you talk down like that?
Yes, I'm yelling at the phone like this.
And how can you hear?
I turned the volume on max.
Yes? So that's exactly the way that you're talking to her against the railing. Okay, that's good enough. Sit down. Put your sweater back on.
How did the attackers know exactly where her parents' bedroom was? Why didn't they take any valuables?
Did you see them recover anything inside your mom and dad's room?
I did not see anything, no.
Are you sure? Because when we spoke the last time, there was some mention of some other money that went missing.
Yes, the U.S. currency.
So how did that get found?
I believe when they were looking for my father's wallet, they had opened the drawer. And it was in an envelope.
What drawer would that have been in?
If you're at the doorway where I was standing on the left side, the bedside table.
Whose side of the bed is it?
That's my mother's side of the bed.
Okay. And approximately how much money?
I'm not sure how much she took out for our trip. But I can only estimate about a few $100s.
Few hundred, because at the time, the last time you told me, you were pretty adamant about $1,100. So I'm curious to know how you came up with that number.
I believe because when we were at the border, we stopped at the duty free. My mother was deciding whether to use her U.S. currency or her U.S. currency or her Canadian currency.
So it was at that time you remember hearing $1,100, and is that the inference you're saying? Is that because you're pretty solid, saying that it was $1,100 that went missing, that was taken, and that you saw it when we spoke. And who took it? Who took possession of the money?
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
For hours, Jennifer stuck to her story. Then, suddenly, she cracked. In a halting voice, she began to change her narrative, claiming she had indeed hired the intruders, but only to kill her, not her parents.
When he came to your room, what discussions did you have with the guy that came to your room? The real discussions you had, not what you told us.
Where was the money? And I showed him where the money was.
Okay. But he obviously said, I'm here to do what you asked.
He never said anything like that.
What did he say?
Just like hands behind your back.
So the money you gave him was payment for killing you? That he wanted $2,000?
Yes.
When did he give you that figure of $2,000?
In one of our phone conversations.
Okay, what's that?
In one of our phone conversations.
Okay.
A bizarre twist. According to her new version, she was depressed, had failed her family and wanted to die, but couldn't bring herself to commit suicide. So she hired hitmen to kill her in a staged robbery gone wrong. But the evidence didn't support that. Not even close. Detectives knew this was just another lie in a long history of deception, and they were ready to build their case.
Okay. Remember everything I told you about what I do for a living? Okay. I'm an expert in determining truth and half-truths. Okay. What you've just told me is half the truth. Okay? Now, what I do believe is that you went to somebody. And I do believe that night you paid them the $2,000. Okay? That's the true part. Okay? Right? But what's not true is it was never for you. Okay, Jen, no. Okay, you went to this person and you asked them to do a job. And the job was for your parents. Okay, that's what we got to get to here. Okay? I know that's what really happened, Jen. Okay? That's what really happened. Okay, so you've done good here. You're telling me half the truth. I'm going to get the other half out here.
By the end of November, police had arrested Jennifer Pan, Daniel Wong, Lenford Crawford, and David Milvaganam. A fifth man, Eric Carty, was later arrested separately. He would eventually die in custody before facing trial, but his name was deeply tied to the case. The discovery of Jennifer's fabricated life shocked the entire community. Report cards, university acceptance letters, pharmacy school transcripts, all fake. Her parents had believed she was about to graduate as a pharmacist. In reality, she had never even finished high school. The motive became clearer with every new piece of evidence. Jennifer's entire life was a lie built to gain her parents' approval, and when it collapsed, she chose violence over the truth. In March 2014, more than 3 years after the murder, the trial of Jennifer Pan and her co-conspirators began at the Newmarket Courthouse in Ontario. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, true crime followers, and shocked community members gathered to witness the unraveling of a case that had captivated the nation. Jennifer sat quietly, often wearing glasses and a neutral expression, flanked by her 3 co-accused, Daniel Wong, Lenford Crawford, and David Milvaganam. All 4 had pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. But prosecutors were ready to show that this wasn't a robbery gone wrong. It was a carefully orchestrated plan led by Jennifer Pan. Despite his injuries, Han took the stand. The courtroom fell silent as he recounted the night he was shot. He described seeing his daughter walking around, unrestrained, and noted how calm she had seemed during the ordeal. His words painted a picture of betrayal that no father should ever have to speak. Jennifer's defense tried to cast doubt on her intent. They claimed she had suffered emotional abuse, that she felt suffocated by her parents' control, and that she never meant for them to die. They leaned on the earlier claim that Jennifer only wanted to die herself and had misunderstood the killer's intentions. But the prosecution was relentless. They exposed her years of lies, fabricated school documents, false job claims, double lives, and secret relationships. They highlighted her financial motive, her desperation to be with Daniel, and the planning that went into every detail of the murder plot. The trial lasted nearly 10 months. The jury deliberated for just over 48 hours. In December 2014, the verdict was read. Jennifer Pan was found guilty of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. So were her 3 co-accused. All 4 received life sentences, with no possibility of parole for 25 years. But the story didn't end there. In May 2023, nearly a decade after the convictions, the Ontario Court of Appeal ruled that the jury had not been properly instructed on considering lesser charges like second-degree murder or manslaughter. While Jennifer's attempted murder conviction remained upheld, her murder conviction was overturned and a new trial was ordered. In April 2025, the Supreme Court of Canada upheld that decision, meaning Jennifer Pan and her co-conspirators must once again stand trial for the first-degree murder of Bik Pan. After more than a decade, the case that once seemed closed was reopened, dragging the Pan family and the public back into the shadows of a crime that still haunts the nation. For most people, home is where they feel safest. For Han Pan, it became the place where his life was destroyed. After surviving 2 gunshot wounds, one to the face, one to the shoulder, Han Pan emerged from a coma to a world that would never be the same. His wife of over 30 years, Bik Pan, was gone. His daughter, whom he had once proudly called his golden child, had orchestrated the entire crime. The physical wounds left Han permanently disfigured and partially blind, but it was the emotional trauma that cut even deeper. During his victim impact statement delivered at sentencing in 2015, Han spoke with heartbreaking clarity. "I hope my daughter Jennifer thinks about what has happened every day and how she has destroyed our family. I can no longer find joy in life." He went on to explain that he had lost not just his wife but also his home, his health, and the relationship with both of his children. Felix Pan, Jennifer's younger brother, cut ties with her immediately. He also moved away and changed his name, choosing to disappear from the media spotlight. The once proud Pan family home, located at 238 Helen Avenue in Markham, was eventually sold, unable to escape its horrific history. Neighbors, many of whom had lived on the street for decades, said the home no longer felt like part of the neighborhood. It stood as a ghost of what had once been a model immigrant family's success story. Jennifer, meanwhile, remained behind bars at the Grand Valley Institution for Women in Kitchener, Ontario, serving out her life sentence as the appeals process unfolded. Her co-defendants were incarcerated in separate federal prisons. But the appeal in 2023 and the Supreme Court ruling in 2025 rekindled the pain all over again. What had once been considered resolved was now back in courtrooms, headlines, and family wounds. For the public, Jennifer Pan became a symbol of duplicity hidden behind a mask of perfection.
They were just really quiet people. They didn't bug anyone. Yeah, it's really sad.
The randomness really scares me. It's, if there was a motivation, if there's reason, then we can all say, oh, they had the reason why.
She was a warning of what happens when unchecked pressure, unrealistic expectations, and years of deception collide in the most catastrophic way. The media coverage remained extensive. Documentaries, podcasts, and YouTube videos continued to dissect every detail of the crime, from her double life to the psychology behind her actions. Some labeled her a sociopath, others a product of oppressive parenting. But the facts remained unchanged. Jennifer Pan made a choice, and that choice cost a woman her life and destroyed a family forever. Even in prison, Jennifer's story was far from over. The new trial on first-degree murder charges loomed ahead, threatening to reopen old wounds and spark new legal challenges. The Pan family name, once associated with quiet resilience and immigrant success, would now always be remembered for one of Canada's most shocking betrayals, a daughter who played the perfect role until it became deadly. Jennifer Pan's story is not just about a crime, it's about the collapse of a carefully constructed illusion. For years, she lived 2 lives, one that pleased her parents and another that hid the truth. But when those 2 worlds collided, she chose not to come clean. She chose murder. Her downfall wasn't sudden. It was slow, calculated, and buried beneath layers of deceit. Grades she never earned, schools she never attended, degrees she never received. And when the pressure of truth grew too heavy, Jennifer made a decision that would cost her everything: her family, her freedom, and her future. What makes this case so disturbing isn't just the act itself, it's the methodical planning, the calm manipulation, and the betrayal of the very people who loved her most. It wasn't rage, it wasn't heat of the moment, it was a blueprint, one she executed almost perfectly, until it fell apart under the weight of evidence and a father who miraculously survived. But even with convictions, appeals, and headlines, the Jennifer Pan case leaves behind questions that still haunt those who followed it. Was Jennifer a victim of parental pressure, or simply someone who never learned to face failure? Could therapy, honesty, or a single moment of courage have changed everything? Or was this tragedy always inevitable? One lie too many, one mask too well worn. Today, as Jennifer awaits a retrial for her mother's murder, she remains a symbol of something far greater than a family tragedy. She represents the dark side of perfectionism, the danger that lies beneath when children are taught to fear failure more than they're taught to tell the truth. In the end, Jennifer Pan didn't just destroy a family. She destroyed the illusion that she had built her entire life around. And for that, she will pay the price for the rest of her life.
Cape Coral, Florida, a city built on water, calm neighborhoods, and the kind of quiet that makes people feel safe. But in July 2023, that calm was shattered when one man simply vanished.
My best friend of 40 years, his name is Barry. He lives in Cape Coral, Florida. I think I was the last message that he had on July 19th. He was out at a bar on Wednesday, the 19th of July.
So this is what I found. Everybody's messaging him, where are you, where are you, where are you, and then this came up.
Standing over there by the pool, and all the cops are here, and I was like, hey man, what's up? He's like, hey, and I'm like, you know what's going on? And he said, yeah, they're searching my condo. And I was like, ooh, that's no good. And he said, yeah, my boyfriend's missing.
It's been 7 days. You know, no contact with anybody for 7 days. That's not normal for anybody that's even upset. That's not normal not to contact anybody for 7 days.
But while his body hadn't been found, something else was showing up in its place. Suspicion. Behind closed doors, people started asking, what happened to Barry? And more importantly, who was the last person to see him alive? The answer? His boyfriend, Christopher Davis. Christopher claimed Barry left on his own, that he just needed space. But nothing about that felt right. Not to Barry's friends, not to investigators, and eventually not to the law. Because soon strange details began to surface. A disturbing purchase here, an unusual transaction there. Surveillance footage, inconsistencies, things that didn't add up. And most of them pointed back to one man. But here's where it gets even darker. Barry's body was never found. No grave, no remains, nothing.
Mr. Schmalbach has not been heard from or seen since the evening of July 19th, 2023, near the 1800 block of Beach Parkway East here in Cape Coral, near his home. At this time, we do have a person of interest. However, I'm unable to name that person today. Our detectives continue to actively pursue all leads and process pertinent evidence in our attempt to locate Mr. Schmalbach.
So how do you prove someone's been murdered when there's no body? This is the story of a case built entirely on shadows, on clues left behind, lies told too smoothly, and a justice system forced to chase the truth without the most basic piece of evidence, the victim himself. The disappearance of Barry Schmalbach would become one of Florida's most chilling no-body murder cases, a test of how far the law can go when someone tries to erase another person completely. What really happened behind the doors of that quiet Florida condo? What was Christopher hiding? And how did investigators piece together a murder with nothing but fragments? This case will leave you questioning everything, because sometimes the scariest part of a crime is the silence it leaves behind. Barry Schmalbach was the kind of man people remembered for all the right reasons: gentle, thoughtful, and reliable. At 56 years old, he had carved out a stable life in Cape Coral, Florida. He was responsible, deeply loyal to his friends, and lived a routine that rarely wavered. He wasn't flashy or reckless, just consistent, grounded. He shared his home with his partner, Christopher Davis, a man nearly 20 years younger. To outsiders, their relationship appeared quiet, normal even. But those close to Barry knew it wasn't always peaceful. Though no public reports of violence had surfaced, the dynamic between them raised occasional concern. Barry sometimes seemed withdrawn, guarded, as if something unspoken lingered beneath the surface.
Hey, it's me. Give me a call. I need your help. I need to get rid of this idiot because I can't take it anymore.
He made his calls, stayed in touch with friends, and showed up when expected. That's why, when Barry suddenly stopped responding on July 19, 2023, alarm bells rang almost immediately. No one could reach him. Messages were left unread. His phone went dark. Days passed without a word. Something was wrong. Christopher told people Barry had just gone out or was laying low. But his calm demeanor and vague explanations only added to the unease. Barry's friends grew suspicious. This wasn't like him. He didn't vanish. He didn't just leave. When police were finally alerted, they found no signs of forced entry, no blood, no broken furniture. But Barry was gone. Just gone. And as investigators looked closer, a disturbing picture began to form. At first glance, there was nothing to see. No body, no visible crime scene, no evidence of a struggle. But investigators weren't just looking for what was there. They were looking for what wasn't. And what was missing was Barry. Detectives started with surveillance. Footage from nearby cameras showed Barry and Christopher walking into their shared condo on the evening of July 19th. Barry was never seen again.
My best friend of 40 years, his name is Barry. He lives in Cape Coral, Florida. I think I was the last message that he had on July 19th. He was out at a bar on Wednesday, the 19th of July.
Neighbors recalled hearing loud thuds and what they described as moaning or muffled cries that night. Unusual sounds coming from the couple's unit. No one called the police at the time. But in hindsight, those noises would become a haunting piece of the puzzle.
I was watching some TV, and between that time, I heard something directly right above my unit where I was sitting, because we had, like I said, had the same floor plans. I heard something being thrown up against the wall and heard, no, no, no.
And did you hear anything after that?
Yeah, a couple minutes later, I heard this noise, and it gave me chills, like the hair on my arms, and it was like someone losing their last breaths.
The next day, Christopher Davis was seen leaving the condo alone. Over the following days, he made multiple strange purchases. Surveillance cameras captured him buying duct tape, a tarp, and later a shovel and pickaxe. Investigators found these items chilling, especially since Barry's whereabouts were still unknown. But the behavior didn't stop there. Christopher began using Barry's credit cards. He withdrew money from Barry's accounts and even wore his wristwatch in public. It was as if he'd absorbed Barry's identity and was now attempting to live it. Police tracked Davis's movements to an Airbnb he rented under a false name in a different part of town. When officers searched the property, they found items believed to be used for concealing or transporting a body, cleaning supplies, gloves, and a heavy-duty trash bin. The guest list showed no checkout. The room had a strange smell. Cadaver dogs were brought in to search Barry's Jeep, which had remained parked outside the condo. The dogs immediately alerted to the scent of human decomposition, clear, undeniable, and deeply disturbing. What investigators were beginning to suspect was horrifying. Barry hadn't just gone missing, he had been murdered, silently, deliberately, and then erased. Still, without a body, proving it would be difficult. But piece by piece, Davis made it easier for them. Phone records revealed Google searches related to decomposition and body disposal. Christopher had also bought large trash bags, a new mop, and industrial-strength cleaner. And though he claimed Barry had just walked away, all of Barry's belongings, his keys, ID, and car, were still at home. The final blow came from Davis himself. Under questioning, he contradicted himself repeatedly. His timeline changed. His explanations didn't hold up. He grew defensive, distant, and then strangely indifferent.
So my boyfriend Barry hasn't been home in a few days. He told me he was going with friends. His friends called me today, said that they haven't heard from him. Now I'm calling. I'm beginning to get in the middle stages of worried. He did leave his Apple Watch here. I just turned it on. And apparently he was having an Italian dinner with someone last night, and I think that things might be taking like a different kind of shape, but he is not responding to me or his friends.
So I saw in the notes, it said that he needed some space. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have like an open relationship, and he's been talking to guys on Grindr and like doing that kind of thing, and so that's what that's what I took the space to mean, and it's because he goes out of town all the time. And if you want to look at my phone, I can show you. He's done this 3 or 4 times, where he's and then if you look here, if you want to go back, you can see where like he's ghosted me before.
What day was this?
For days. This one right here.
Yeah. What is all that? Is that from yesterday?
No. This is from another time. This is from about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Where he did this same thing, which is why I didn't initially like freak out, but like he's had it more and more frequently, and I don't know if he's got like maybe he's got like a drug problem or like you said, like he does business from home. I don't know.
Okay.
And so he leaves and goes. He was just in Wisconsin for 2 weeks. He was in Los Angeles San Diego for 2 weeks. He was just in Chicago before that.
Okay. So when is the last time that
if you look and see, this is what I'm saying, is like, this has happened.
Is this all you?
Yeah, this is all me.
Okay, he's not responding back.
Yeah, so that was on July 5th.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying, is like, this happens all the time.
Okay.
And so, I don't know what to do, but I wanted to go ahead and file a report because his friends are now saying that, like, I need to, because he's not responding to them. And
Prosecutors would later say his demeanor was that of a man who had rehearsed lies, but hadn't practiced enough. By now, the case was undeniable. This wasn't a disappearance, it was a cover-up. Investigators arrested Christopher Davis and charged him with second-degree murder, evidence tampering, and multiple counts of fraud for assuming Barry's identity after his death.
This has culminated with the issuance of an arrest warrant for Christopher Davis on 1 count of second-degree murder, 1 count of tampering with evidence, and 9 counts of fraudulent use of personal identification of a deceased individual.
The crime shocked the community not because of how it happened, but because of how clean it was. No blood, no body, no frantic escape. Just a man calmly continuing life as if nothing had happened. Wearing the victim's watch, spending his money, sleeping in the same bed where he likely ended Barry's life. And yet, for all his planning, Davis left behind the one thing that always betrays a killer: details. The kind you can't wipe away. The kind that speak louder than a confession ever could. Barry was gone, but his absence became the loudest piece of evidence in the case. Once Barry Schmalbach was reported missing, investigators had little to work with. No crime scene, no body, and no eyewitnesses. But what they did have was a gut feeling that something was wrong. And in cases like this, instincts matter. Detectives began with the most obvious lead: Barry's live-in boyfriend, Christopher Davis. Davis claimed Barry had left on his own, offering vague timelines and casual dismissals. But the more he talked, the more detectives noticed. His version of events wasn't just hazy, it was inconsistent. And that's where the real digging began. The first clue came from digital forensics. Barry's phone, which had gone dark on July 19th, was last pinged near his condo. It had never left the area. His credit cards, however, told a different story. They were still active, but not by Barry. Davis had been using them. In the days after Barry's disappearance, Davis withdrew cash from Barry's accounts, bought groceries, and even visited a gas station wearing Barry's watch. Surveillance footage from several stores placed Davis using Barry's cards, looking composed and methodical. It was eerie. He wasn't acting like a worried partner. He was acting like someone filling the void.
Thank you. And how can I help you today?
You just had my card to the phone.
Let's start by getting your social security number.
Yes, absolutely. Jacqueline.
That's your maiden name?
I'm so sorry. It's been a long night.
Investigators then focused on local surveillance from nearby condos and businesses. They reviewed hours of footage and discovered Davis purchasing duct tape, a large tarp, industrial cleaning products, and trash bags from multiple locations. He also rented a nearby Airbnb under a fake name, using Barry's card. When officers visited the Airbnb, they found signs of recent cleaning and strong chemical odors. Though no body or physical remains were found, the smell and the strange items discovered on site raised red flags. It was as if Davis had planned out every step, except for how closely people were watching. Next came the physical evidence. Cadaver dogs were brought in to search Barry's Jeep, which was parked right outside the condo. Within minutes, they alerted to the unmistakable scent of human decomposition, specifically in the cargo area. For investigators, this was a major turning point. There was no sign of Barry, but his scent lingered in a vehicle he never drove alone. As they worked to map Davis's movements, detectives uncovered damning purchase records, a shovel, a pickaxe, and heavy-duty gloves, all acquired after Barry went missing. Google searches linked to Davis's IP address showed queries about decomposition timelines and how to move a body. The picture was becoming clear. This wasn't a disappearance, it was a cover-up. Interviews with neighbors added fuel to the fire. Several reported hearing strange, loud banging and muffled sounds coming from the couple's condo around the time Barry vanished. One even recalled hearing something that sounded like crying or gasping.
I heard this noise, and it gave me chills, like the hair on my arms, and it was like someone losing their last breath. Maybe 10 minutes later, I heard chirp, chirp, which was a car, someone opening up their car. And I, like I said, I know it had to be around 9 o'clock, and I thought, well, that's weird. There's only 3 of us on my side of the building, and they were one upstairs, and like I said, I know they go to bed early, and Mary was downstairs. She don't go nowhere, and it was me. So I thought, well, it's time for me to go to bed. So I went to the front to lock the door, and as I walked by my window, I thought, let me see who. And I looked out, and Barry's Jeep was missing.
So I went to the front door, opened it up just a little bit, maybe 10 inches, and I heard the plastic. And then within just a few seconds, I saw a person dragging something back into the, where I could see like the back half of them. They were bent over, dragging something, and then I could spot them, their back end.
At the time, they brushed it off, but now they realized they may have heard a man fighting for his life. Detectives also noticed how quickly Davis tried to erase Barry from the world. He told friends Barry had probably run off. He lied to Barry's own sister, claiming he didn't know anything.
Why didn't they call the police? I mean, if you hear, yeah, I'm really upset about that too. They should have called the police. Or somehow, oh, hey, we can hear you down here. Maybe it would have stopped them, I would have called the cops or banged on the wall and said, hey, I can hear you down here. Something, to startle him out of the state that he must have been in when he did this to my brother.
He canceled Barry's appointments, stopped taking calls from mutual friends, and even tried to sell some of Barry's belongings. It all pointed to one thing: guilt. Without a body, prosecutors knew they needed overwhelming circumstantial evidence, and they were building it fast. Every lie Davis told, every item he bought, every place he went, it all painted the same picture. Barry Schmalbach hadn't walked away from his life. Someone had taken it from him. With a digital trail, financial fraud, and cadaver dog alerts in hand, investigators were ready to move. Even without a body, the weight of the evidence was undeniable. On September 14th, 2023, nearly 2 months after Barry vanished, police arrested Christopher Davis at his condo in Cape Coral. The charges, second-degree murder, evidence tampering, and multiple counts of identity theft and financial fraud. Davis reportedly showed no emotion during his arrest. No protest, no confusion, no visible fear. At the station, he was interviewed again, but this time his calm began to crack. Faced with surveillance footage, financial records, and phone data, Davis struggled to maintain his earlier lies. He contradicted himself on timelines, purchases, and what he had done in the days after Barry disappeared. Still, he never confessed. Police released a statement saying that although Barry's body had not been found, they had full confidence in the evidence. Prosecutors echoed that sentiment, calling it a no-body homicide case, rare but not unprecedented. Friends and family of Barry were devastated but relieved. After weeks of silence, someone was finally being held accountable. They still hoped for one thing: to find Barry, to bring him home, and to bury him with dignity. But for now, they had what mattered most: proof that Barry's story wasn't forgotten, and that justice was catching up with the man who tried to erase him. By the time Christopher Davis stepped into a Lee County courtroom in June 2025, the prosecution had spent nearly 2 years building a case against him, without the one thing that usually anchors a murder charge: a body. But what they did have was a narrative built brick by brick through forensic leads, surveillance footage, digital trails, and a pattern of deception that was impossible to ignore. The trial, which lasted just 4 days, was tense from the beginning. Prosecutors made it clear, although Barry Schmalbach's body had not been recovered, the evidence against Davis was overwhelming. They presented Davis not just as a liar, but as a manipulator who killed his partner, erased the crime scene, and attempted to step into Barry's life as if nothing had happened.
No. Those are the last noises that the neighbor heard from Barry Schmalbach's apartment before Barry was never seen or heard from again.
The jury heard testimony from forensic experts who explained the significance of the cadaver dogs alerting inside Barry's Jeep. Even without DNA or visible blood, the dog's behavior was strong enough to indicate the presence of human remains in the vehicle. The prosecution emphasized that cadaver dog alerts had been used to help solve dozens of other homicides, and in this case, it was key. Surveillance footage from stores where Davis purchased duct tape, a shovel, tarp, gloves, and cleaning supplies was shown frame by frame. Each clip presented Davis casually going about his day, acquiring tools typically used for body disposal. The prosecution argued that no innocent person buys those specific items days after their partner mysteriously disappears. They also brought in bank and phone records showing Davis had used Barry's credit cards, drained his accounts, and searched for decomposition timelines on Google. Jurors saw text message screenshots where Davis lied to friends, saying Barry was off doing his own thing, all while actively assuming control of his finances and identity. Perhaps the most emotional moments came from Barry's loved ones. They testified to his reliability, his character, and the absolute impossibility that he would ever just disappear without telling anyone. One friend broke down on the stand saying, Barry didn't vanish, he was taken. Davis's defense tried to challenge the circumstantial nature of the case. They argued that without a body, no one could be sure Barry was even dead. They claimed Davis acted strangely because he was under stress and grieving. But the jury didn't buy it. When Davis took the stand, his performance backfired. His tone was cold, at times dismissive. He dodged direct questions and contradicted previous statements. The prosecution seized the moment to reinforce his lack of remorse and mechanical detachment. In their closing arguments, prosecutors asked a chilling question. If Barry was still alive, where is he? Why hasn't he used his bank account, called his friends, or come home?
And Barry leaves and goes wandering down Beach Parkway, and if you heard, Beach Parkway goes kind of through the river in Cape Coral, and then there's canals all around it. And say someone's coming down Beach Parkway and mows them down because they're drunk too, a DUI manslaughter. Oh my God, my life's ruined. What do I do? Crap. Bury in the car and go. Meanwhile, his wallet fell out
and is now in a storm drain. Well, let's get rid of that. Let's blame it all on Chris. Let's infer from the evidence everything, it's all on him, the mastermind here.
The only one who doesn't want him found is sitting right there. On June 26, 2025, the jury returned its verdict, guilty on all counts, second-degree murder, evidence tampering, and multiple charges of identity theft and fraud. Judge Lisa Morales sentenced Christopher Davis to life in prison without parole, plus additional years for the financial crimes. She called his actions calculating, remorseless, and an insult to every person who loved Barry Schmalbach.
Verdict. We, the jury, finds as follows as to count 1 of the charge. Count 1, second-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of second-degree murder. Count 2, tampering with physical evidence.
There were tears in the courtroom, not just for justice, but for the haunting absence of a man whose body still hadn't been found. Justice had been served, but closure, that remained elusive. The guilty verdict in the murder of Barry Schmalbach brought a sense of resolution, but not peace. For Barry's friends and family, justice came without the one thing they still desperately needed, his body. Without that, there could be no funeral, no goodbye, no place to lay flowers. Just a name, a photo, and a memory that still feels unfinished. In the weeks following the trial, investigators continued searching for Barry's remains. They combed through wooded areas, construction sites, and even abandoned wells based on vague geolocation data from Davis's phone. But nothing surfaced. It was as if Barry had vanished completely, a thought that continues to haunt those who loved him. His sister Angela became the family's voice after the sentencing. In interviews, she said she was grateful Davis would never walk free, but admitted, "We still wake up every day hoping he'll finally tell us where Barry is. That's all we want now, to bring him home." Community response to the trial was profound. The case made local headlines not just because of its chilling nature, but because it raised an uncomfortable truth. A person can disappear in plain sight, and their killer can walk free for weeks or months before anyone even notices. Prosecutors and law enforcement received praise for pursuing a conviction in a no-body homicide, a rare legal feat. National media outlets took note of the trial, calling it a blueprint for how to build a murder case from absence. For true crime followers, it was a chilling reminder that modern forensics, digital trails, and psychological profiling can be powerful tools, even when there's no crime scene to examine. But the scars of this case go deeper. Friends who once visited Barry's home now can't bring themselves to drive past it. His Jeep sits in evidence storage, a grim reminder of what was lost. And Christopher Davis? He remains in a maximum security facility, offering no confessions, no cooperation, no closure. Rumors continue to swirl online. Some say Barry's body may be in the Everglades. Others believe it was disposed of at sea. But none of these theories have been confirmed. And authorities say Davis is the only person who knows the truth, a truth he has chosen to keep locked away. For Barry's family, the hope is that one day someone will come forward. Maybe Davis himself. Maybe someone who knows something but has stayed silent. Until then, they hold on to what they do have: justice, memories, and a community that refused to let Barry's story disappear the way his body did. The aftermath of Barry Schmalbach's murder reminds us that not all crimes leave visible scars, but the silence they leave behind can be just as devastating. The story of Barry Schmalbach is one of silence, haunting, deliberate silence. A man who vanished without a trace, a partner who lied without remorse, and a courtroom that brought justice without ever recovering the one thing that mattered most: Barry himself. Christopher Davis thought he could erase someone, not just kill, but remove from the world, from memory, from existence. No screams, no blood, just an empty space where a life used to be. But what he didn't count on was the trail left behind, the receipts, the surveillance, the smell in the Jeep, the friends who refused to stay quiet, the detectives who refused to give up. He underestimated the fact that some absences are louder than any confession. Barry may have been taken, but he was never forgotten. This case is a chilling reminder that justice doesn't always come with a body. Sometimes it comes with patterns, with lies, with the weight of things that don't add up. Prosecutors didn't need a corpse. They had the echo of a life abruptly stopped, and that was enough to lock Christopher Davis away forever. Still, the ending remains unfinished. Barry hasn't been found. His family wakes up every day hoping for one thing: to bring him home, to lay him to rest, to turn this nightmare into something they can finally close. Until then, there's a hole in the ground where a grave should be, a silence that justice couldn't fully fill, and a question that still lingers: where is Barry?